Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, everyone. Shabbat shalom. Welcome to another segment, another week, another Shabbat here at Beulah Land at Typical Farim. Prince shall be here shortly. But for those that's tuning in, this is the first class where we go and we bring forth what we're thankful for. We share it, those that's here on YouTube, those that's here on Facebook, and even those that tune in later. Let us know what you're thankful for in the comments. We'll respond. We'll give you some encouragement, things of that nature. But for right now, those that's tuning in, please like, subscribe, and share to your family and your friends because today is going to be a powerful day, as every should be, right? But a powerful lesson on first class as well as second class. Um, so going forward, we're going to go ahead and go with those here on the panel to begin with letting us know what they're thankful for, um, and if they want to share any news with the family. And also, please let me know if I'm going in and out, you all. The signal looks like it's going in and out. All right, so I'm going to pass the floor for either Princess or Gaberet Autumn. If you have anything you want to bring forth, please do.
Um, I'm just grateful to be here and be in good health. Nothing like extravagant, but well, I can say that my mom seems to be getting better from dealing with shingles. So I am grateful that the Most High has been working with her and getting that out of her system. I pray He gets it completely out. Um, but she has, from what I've seen, she has been getting better and doing physical therapy and things to help with the paralyzation. So every time I call her, it seems like her face changes and gets a little bit better. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm also, well, Prince isn't here, but I'm also grateful for my husband for being able to just do what he does for our family. And he was doing a fast these previous 3 days or so, and it was just inspiring to see him do that. And he went without food, or well, yeah, he went without food. He drank water, but he went without food. So it was just as inspiring to see him do that, because he does fast all the time. But um, this one, I think this was the one that I seen most recently, where he just didn't eat anything, and I was like, oh wow, you got to be really strong to do that. So yeah, it was just inspiring to see, and hopefully he'll hear it and see that. And or if he doesn't, I'll just tell him. But I'm just grateful for the simple things, really, and being in good health. And I pray that everyone else is in good health too. Say who?
Powerful, powerful. And that is him right there. And I recognize the way that he says Shabbat. So that's him in the Facebook comment, basically hearing exactly what you said. And that is amazing. That says a lot for us as Yisrael. A lot of us, from my knowledge, I don't hear a lot of people fasting often. And that's one of the things that strengthens our mental, strengthens our spirit. One of the things that brings a certain connection to the Most High, especially if you're in daily prayer, if you're meditating on the literature that came before us, right? So take my head off the Prince if he's hearing, listening, which I'm assuming he is, and Todah Geber Autumn for that. For those that are just tuning in, this is the part of the first class when we go over what we're thankful for. So please, in the comment section, let us know what you're thankful for. If you want to share anything that's been going on this week, we will put it on the screen so those of us here can read it as well, and those that come back later to watch this can watch as well. All right. So I'm going to pass it over to Princess Madaya, and please let us know what you're thankful for, grateful for. Torah.
Shabbat Shalom Lekulam. Of course, absolutely thankful to the Most High for bringing us to another Shabbat day. Thankful for all the things that He has blessed us with throughout this week. And something, as my sister wife said, the fasting, as in bear witness to my Ish doing that fast a few times, it always enlightens me to see that, we can be beyond what we think we need every day. Of course, what the world tells you, you have to have 3 meals a day, you have to do this, you have to do that. And a lot of times the fasting is a form of strengthening yourself because you never know when you may have to go without. So that's also a form of discipline, disciplining your body and your mind, most importantly, because your mind is what forces you to actually break a fast or, eat and things like that, because it's telling you what it needs to do versus listening to what your body, because your body actually has its own, it can master itself. But a lot of times we let our mind master everything based off of what is around us. So yes, that's a very strengthening act of fasting that he does. And definitely, proud of the fact that he's able to sustain when he does it and continue to do it, at different times in his life. I am super thankful, of course, for just the week that we had with our school beginning in the manner that it did, where we were able to have our first class on Thursday. And it was just a blessing to be able to see all the students come, the ones who returned to school and the ones and our new students, our new parents, and our old parents and our new and old staff. So that was a blessing. And just to see how everybody reacted or related to one another. The children were really just there and happy and, spoke to one another as if they knew each other for years. So that was a blessing to see that, and just to see the different families virtually connect. I'm also thankful for today. My big brother, not my oldest brother, but one of my big brothers, Chaka Zulu, today is his 54th birthday. And I'm thankful for that because just a couple of years ago, we, by the grace of the Creator, the Most High granted and spared his life. Even though, it was grave what he went through. And I'm just thankful that he is here to be able to celebrate another year life. And we as his family, and I know many of his friends are thankful to be able to celebrate his life with him. So, as well as his children. So total to the Creator for that, because it's always a blessing to be able to celebrate life in your cycle of life, because some people don't make it to another year to enjoy life and to just embrace that they're getting older and getting wiser. So definitely thankful for that. Thankful for my family here in Beulah land. Thankful just for all the things that we're accomplishing and staying united, even in the midst of some harsh times, some hard times, when we have to go deep inside and really, speak with ourselves, speak with the Creator and ask for his strength, through a lot of these times. So I'm thankful that we're able to be here for one another. And yes, I'm just, I'm thankful because every day I've seen that the Most High has been showing us his mercy and his blessings simultaneously. And it's a humbling experience. So, Zehu, Shabbat Shalom.
Toda for that. Definitely some wisdom in those words that you brought forth. The importance of just continuing to stay strong throughout these tough times that we have to go through, and still hitting that course, knowing what we have to do and strengthen our mental in the process while we're going through other things. So that's powerful. Again, those that are tuning in, please make sure you like, make sure that you share, make sure that you subscribe. And please let us know if there's anything that you want us to share with the people that's watching right now, with the family that's watching right now, as to what you're thankful for. All right, what you're thankful for. We have Zakeda Sukari, says Shabbat Shalom. Toda Rabbah for your brother's born day celebration. All right. All right. So until someone else jumps in and let us know what they're thankful for, I guess I'll go ahead and say what I'm thankful for. But please, we do encourage you all to let us know because we want to acknowledge all of you. You know, sometimes a lot of us we just want a voice. We want people to hear what's on our minds, what's on our thoughts, and sometimes those things can help us. Those things can help someone else that's watching, right? As Prince I said last week, I believe, or that was another meeting actually, but it can help, you know. So if you share what you're thankful for, if you share what's on your mind, you may just be saying what someone else is thinking. It could be that confirmation, right? So I just want to say what I'm thankful for this week. This week has um, been a good week from a standpoint of just being alive and well, being able to function, being able to praise and pray to the Most High, talk with the Most High, being here with my Isha, being there for my Isha, um, as well as hearing progress with our family. So please, you all continue to have send prayers out up to the Most High for our family, the righteous individuals that's listening. We need the righteous prayers, and I know that sounds funny, and some people dislike when I say that, but that's what we need. We need those righteous prayers. Most High hears the righteous, right? According to our literature, the Most High does not hear those that are sinning. But that's another topic. So we need to hear the prayers of the righteous for our family. We thank those of you that have been encouraging and been praying and been supporting, because we don't see that a lot in Yisrael, you know. And many people, they have disbelief in us as a people, right? We don't believe what our people are capable of in times where we truly need it, you know. And to be honest with you, I don't blame that belief sometimes, because a lot of times we show that we lack empathy, and then we lack that community. We lack that love for one another. So to see that over this past week was amazing. You know, of course, we always see it here at Beulah Land. I just want to put that out there. But to see that for so many people that's outside of Beulah Land, that was amazing. But again, it's always a remnant of a remnant, and that remnant of a remnant does not just lie with us. It's out there. All right. We have Gabert Oneat, and she says, Shabbat Shalom, family. I'm thankful for family and health, for allowing us to be in the land of the living and have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, to be able to have the consciousness to know, right? Those things are extremely important, and we sometimes we take advantage of those things. You know, we always thinking of having a vehicle, having this great amazing job and things of that nature. And we're going to see in some of the reading today how the smaller things is what she just brought out, Gabera just brought out, Oneat, is important. You know, when you're not able to do certain things that you're used to just in the normal day, you tend to, at that point, really be grateful and thankful for every aspect of that. So make sure when you're doing your prayers, when you talk to the Most High, just be thankful. Thankful for being able to breathe, you know, thankful for being able to drink a glass of water, thankful for every aspect of just your normal functionalities of your body. So, Toda for that, Gabert Oneat. Is there anyone else that want to say what they're thankful for? Any more comments? Those that's in the chat, those that's on YouTube, those that's on Facebook. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Okay. Gabert Autumn also said, I'm also super thankful. Let me post that on screen. For one of my closest cousins, safe delivery of her first baby. My baby cousin is a boy. Mazel tov. Congratulations to your closest cousin. Please let her know from the Beulah family that we're hoping that everything goes smoothly as it's supposed to go, and that baby grew up to be an awesome contributor to the Most High. Yeah.
I put it in the chat. I didn't want to just take up more time saying it, but Total Rabbi, yep, I'm super super grateful. She's one of my closest cousins, her first child, and I'm just glad that everything went well. You know, because anything can happen in birth, really. But I'm just grateful that it was all well, and I can't wait to meet him. I'm so excited. Next time I go home, we're so excited.
That's awesome. We have Zakena Sakari. Grateful to fellowship among such spiritual, full family connections. All right. I want to comment on that. It's interesting that she brought up spiritual, and I really look forward to bringing that out. I put a post up yesterday that I'm going to kind of share with you all, and it's going to segue into what we're going to bring in a little while. But I like that she said that, Kabir said that, as I kind of said, that among such spiritual, full family connections, that's what we need to focus on. Spiritual is very important, but sometimes we let that slide, we let it go. We don't understand how important it truly is. All right. And we have the Bear Sharon says, thankful for travel mercies of my in-laws. Thankful for a successful and unified first day of school for the Yeladim. All praises to our Creator for allowing us to see another Shabbat day. And for those that's tuning in, this is the second time that the school has been brought up, Goshen Hebrew Academy at Tukifarim. And this is the third year, for those that's wondering. It is the third year, but an amazing transition has transpired. You know, and the outcome of that transition is just like another level of amazing, and what's the Most High is doing with that transition. So that's why you're hearing a lot of people talk about it right now. You might hear it for a little while longer. It's been talked about for the past couple of weeks of what's happening. So all praises to the Most High, even with the unexpected transition, it still turned out to still give the Most High glory, and the Most High has shown His works, His magnificentness, if that's a word, with this transition. All right. And also what Gaber Sharon said about the travel mercies of my in-laws, you all, anything can happen when you get in that car. Anything can happen when you get in that car, when you go to the store, you know, because you're not just protecting yourself as you drive, you're driving for other people. So that specific prayer, or that being thankful for that traveling mercy, is important. I also encourage those of you to say that in your prayers, because anything can happen, you know. We have Shining Light TV says Shabbat Shalom and love Mishpacha. Shabbat Shalom. Is that my sister in Yah? I think that's my sister in Yah. Is that her, Amona? Okay. Shalom, shalom. Yalla. All right. I know she's probably laughing right now. That's a sidebar. But anyway, is there anyone else that have anything else they like to say right now before we go forward?
Ken, I wanted to also say, total to the Creator for allowing Sister Zachariah and her Yeladim to make it safely to their destination last night. Right before the Shabbat, I believe they arrived, and such a blessing because she was on a long journey. And amazingly, the last 2 days of school opening, she was traveling and she was teaching simultaneously, and the children were involved in class. So it was just a beautiful experience. But I'm thankful that the Most High has allowed them to make it to their destination. I know she is getting plenty of rest, as today is a rest day, and as it's deserving from, traveling for pretty much 2 days. So may the Most High continue to be with her and her children. And welcome to all the new and old souls that have joined us today. I wanted to say shalom to Sister Amber, because she hit me up early this morning. And it's so blessed to see her back and have her presence back in the midst of us. And shalom to all of our elders and our akayot that have joined us. And shalom to my spiritual daughter, sister, who is always a pleasure. It was a great pleasure speaking to her. So shalom to you all, and just so grateful that the Most High has allowed you all to be here today to be a part of this Shabbat lesson that is coming forth. And just grateful to, see all those faces and embracing us and embracing one another through the Most High. So Shabbat Shalom.
All right, all right. And we send our love, of course, back to Aim and Ab as well. Shabbat Shalom.
Is that the sister?
Okay, that's
Okay.
Amuna's.
She looked dead on Amuna. She looked dead on her.
Yeah, that's Yasmin. And what's interesting is I think Zakena Laurel gave a call to them and she didn't even tell the difference between Amona and Yasmin. Yeah. But that's ill. Shabbat Shalom, family. Thankful for Most High to take me through another week, and thank for life. Glad to join the family from Zakena Obo. Am I saying it right? I think I said it right. All right. All right. So appreciate those of you. Is there anyone else that want to give any thanks before we get started? Because today is going to be part 2 of the lesson. His house shall soon be overthrown. I'm going to try, for those that haven't heard it yet, you could go back here on a Bilana Typical Ring YouTube channel, or you could go on thehouseofbalance.net. We have it on there as well of that lesson. I advise you to listen to the lesson because it's going to be some explaining that I'm going to have to bring out. Some touchy things said, but I'm going to be able to bring a few things from the Tanakh to kind of paint a picture of what I've tried to bring out with this type of message. Shabbat Shalom, Geber Chaza, Torah for tuning in. Did you have anything you want to bring out? Say what you're thankful for before we go forward. I don't want to leave anyone out. We want to give everybody the opportunity to say what they're thankful for. This is my Isha right here. I'm thankful for strength and family. The support that my family has received has been too beautiful. Yes, it has been. Yes, it has been. And she normally is tuning in right now. She's just on standby, as you all can imagine. So that's why she's not on the screen at this particular moment. But she's present. She is present. Shabbat Shalom, Zakena Tassilia. All right. But without further ado, normally, Prince will bring out some words at this point. But I think he'll be in soon. Thankful for a family full of love. Gaber Kaza, I hope that you're talking about us. I don't know if you talk about us or your family as well, but I'll just say both. I think you're talking about both of us. Shalom, shalom, Shabbat Shalom. All right. Let's get started. Can we get started, Princess? Are we good to go?
Okay, and I believe so.
All right. Hopefully this fills the time, but it should fill the time. All right. Zakena Tassilia says, I'm grateful to the Most High for his mercies and his covering over me in spite of my ignorance and complacency. He has protected me throughout the journey on this planet. This is a powerful comment to me. And this, we can bring forth and see our faults or our shortcomings. That's the first step to improving, and that goes for all of us. She said that in spite of my ignorance and complacency, and that has been Yisrael. I'm not saying that's who she is, because we understand, as I came to say, she's very special in this community, and she does what she does. But if someone that does what they do, and we have seen consistency, and they're saying this about themselves, that should make you think. It kind of lets you know that, hey, I should probably look at myself, view myself, see if there's anything that I can improve in. Because if this person, I've seen this person work, is saying it's about themselves, it's a chance that it can be the case for us as well. And that's how we progress. That's how we grow.
Can I just say, I wanted to say, because I was going to say it earlier, but because she brought that out, I wanted to say thank you to Zaquina Tusila too, because last week I was pretty much basically here by myself, which of course everybody knows I don't mind, but of course Naseekh kept texting me, "Are you good? Are you good?" And I'm like, "I'm good. I'm good." You know, I told my spiritual daughter Naseekh Muna and her sister, like, if anybody come, I know how to, I'm prepared. So, but no, when Zaquina Tusila, she's, you know, we have a private message that we all communicate in that live here on the land, and she saw the messages and she was like, "You're by yourself," and she was like, "I'm coming up there this weekend," and she came and stayed actually until Naseekh returned. And it was just beautiful to have her here. I mean, we went and did errands together. We were able to kind of just be together on the Shabbat, just her and I on the land and at the Knesset actually, and you know, just giving us that bonding time. And even when she left, she hugged me twice, and it just felt so great. And sometimes we don't realize what we need until the Most High gives it to us. And you know, having one who physically doesn't have her mother here anymore, sometimes, you know, you crave for that elderly love and presence, and her being here and her hugs and stuff, you know, gave me that. And so I'm thankful for her for that, even though she didn't know it and I didn't know I kind of even needed it at the moment. But with everything that I had just gone through, the Most High knew I needed it, and he made sure that I received it. So Toda to the creator first and foremost, and thankful to Zaquina for being present and following, you know, what the Most High sent her to do. So, Toda Rabbah.
All right, my Ishai said, "I'm grateful we didn't have to release Laban the Destroyer." Laban is one of the dogs here on
Yes.
the land,
No,
Rottweiler.
that was a joke. I said to her, I said, when I'm here, I might just have to let him be out. So, because I know if he's out, ain't nobody coming up in here and doing nothing. So,
I know.
absolutely, absolutely, Bati.
All right, so I guess let's get started. For those that weren't present, we normally are in the Tanakh heavy, you know, in our literature and things of that nature. Um, I'm a believer of us being a people of scribes. You know, Yisrael is a people of scribes. The Most High has us write things down for later generations, things within that time. And I took those of us that are here, I took us into the Apocrypha. And we went to one of my favorite books in the Apocrypha, and that's Sirach or Ecclesiasticus, right? And I remember speaking with mentor teacher of mine, Chief Prince Zebulon Halevi Hadekia, and he stated that, like, you know, when you think of Proverbs being in that time, um, going to Sirach was this literature that was put on his heart to write, right? The grandson to write for what was going on in that time. This was a Hellenistic period. This was a time when they were among the Greeks. This was a time where, when you go to the Maccabees, you see that some of us were gravitating over to the way the Greeks were. And sometimes you have to put things in place for people to build off of the Tanakh, for them to understand how to move going forward. That's what we saw with Ezra. You know, Ezra had to bring and add, not add, but, you know, enforce certain things that people weren't used to at that moment when he was bringing it back into place. That's kind of what we are now here in the United States. We're in that same place. And me being a writer myself, got a book coming out in a couple weeks. Just want to put that out there. Know the importance of what this literature was doing. Okay, so what I want to do before we go into it is I want to bring a definition out. Right, this goes into what Zakena had brought out, Sakari, when she brought out spiritual, and I want to bring out the definition free spirited. Right, free spirited. And it says free spirit is independent and not constrained by convention. All right. Someone that is free spirited is not constrained by convention or by something that is set as a norm. Another definition is a person who thinks and acts in an uninhibited way without worrying about normal social rules. Okay. So when you think of a free spirited person, they have no rules. You hear a lot of our people say we're free spirited. Okay. I understand why that's being said. And this is not a shade to those trying to shame any one of those of you who might call yourself free spirited. But hopefully, as we go through, you'll see why, for us as a people, collectively, why that may not be something that we want to gravitate to as the forefront of how we move. All right. Another definition is it says most people will naturally be seeing free spirited as a positive quality, right? Because the positive side of being free spirited is just someone that's a thinker, someone that is able to look at certain things that's happening and determine if they want to go this way or that way. That's a positive side, but the whole picture is not painted when we're utilizing that word. Okay. Let me go to, I want to bring up a post that I put up yesterday. And I'm getting us to the lesson, you all. So just bear with me. I put up a post yesterday and I had said, before coming on this path, this journey, and while on it as well for 12 years, I've been on it going on 13 years, 12 years right now. I used to wonder why so many of us who attached ourselves to the Bible, even before this particular journey. So I was a Christian, of course. I was an armor bearer. My father is still a pastor and everything. So I used to wonder um, who attach ourselves to the Bible would be doing so many things contrary to it, hurting one another physically, mentally, spiritually, as well as repeating the same things that we see those in our Hebrew literature who weren't spiritually connected to the Most High doing. So we're doing the same thing that those that were in our literature were doing who weren't spiritually connected to the Most High. Remember, I always say it's a remnant of a remnant. It is a remnant of a remnant. Israel is supposed to be a remnant of its own. We're supposed to be a remnant of the people outside of us. But as we can see through the Tanakh, it was people within our people that was more connected with the Most High. So majority of us was not connected to the Most High as we believe ourselves to be. So when we're viewing our literature, and then we're reviewing our people today, we shouldn't become heartbroken when we're seeing all these failures of communities, all these failures of relationships, all of these different things. But I'm about to paint the picture as to why I believe that's the case. I said in Christianity, Islam, and Israelites, or even Israelites, or whatever you may be as so-called Black people, this seems to be a common thing. I used to wonder why we would always say that we are spiritual or being led by the Ruach or spirit. I then began to realize that we are at our core spiritual, but we have become free spirited instead and going away from our most high given potential. That potential that's been given to us by the Most High is teaching us how to operate collectively. It's teaching us how to love one another. It's teaching us how to move as men. It's teaching us how to move as women, right? Husband and wives. Teaching us how to deal with people that's outside of us that may come amongst us, and teaching us what not to do when we're dealing with those outside of us, right? And what to do. So we're losing that when we have become free spirited. We see that with any of the historical writings that we have, we see our people doing that, right? So read this book of Maccabees, you'll see what I'm talking about with that. And also today we're seeing that here in the United States. So I said, I'm sure there will be some who disagree, and that's fine. But this is my observation as it pertains solely to observers of the Hebrew literature, right? And even those that's not in the Hebrew literature, we see that with our people in general. So they might disagree with what I'm saying, but if we look at our lives, a lot of us, even those that come into this walk, those that learn the proper way, we still have a past that took place. We have a past that took place that due to us being free spirited, not having any rules that we dictate and push us down the path of righteousness, not allowing that in our lives, has caused what we see before us, myself included. Okay, so it says, being spiritual in the context of the Hebrews literature has structure and order attached to it that many don't truly desire to operate in. Of course, that is okay. This is your right not to, and that classifies the individual as being a free spirit. Just think about that term, free spirit. Ask yourself, if you're a person that's claimed to be free spirited, do you have someone holding you accountable? Do you have people that you go to before you make certain moves? Are you just living your life? Then look at what took place with those with that ideology that you have, that you're acting on. Right? Then I said, of course, this is okay. This is your right not to, and that classifies the individual as being free spirit. We must understand this and grasp this, because when you are such, then you have nothing that governs you, that can correct you, only yourself. We're in this world right now, or in the United States right now, we allow them to govern us, but we don't allow our own people to govern us. We allow our jobs to govern us, but we don't allow our own people to govern us, our own husband to govern us, right? Our own family to govern us. We don't allow that. I then said, closing, understanding this can balance you out better and ensure spiritual and mental growth down the path of completeness instead of just going with the flow, right? But I know that this is not for everybody. Why do I say it brings a certain completeness? Oh, the Bear Strong said, free-spirited people tend to have no bounds. That's true. The reason I said completeness is because within our literature, you see all over where certain individuals was called perfect. I could point out 3 or 4 people throughout the Tanakh that speaks on being perfect. That word being tam or tamim is just talking about completeness. It's just talking about a certain maturity about them, learning how to move, how to have a certain balance, dealing with different situations, moving aside your bias for the sake of the collective, right? So that's the completeness that we can do when we allow something, not something, but something specifically in our culture, which is our Torah, which is the Most High first and foremost, to govern us properly. That's the completeness right there. How many people are living in the world right now? They're making bukus of money, they're living their life and all that, but they're still taking their life. They're not feeling complete, but they're free spirited, right? All right, so let's get to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start off. We're going to be in Sirach. You all just get a pencil and a paper, write down the scriptures that I have. I'm not going to pull them on the screen, but I will pull a couple scriptures on the screen as far as in the Tanakh that I'm going to bring out. And we're going to start off in Ezekiel. We're going to start off in Ezekiel 3. We're only going to read 11 verses in there, 1 through 11, if I'm not mistaken, because I want to paint a picture right now before we get started, before we get to Sirach. All right. So right here, we understand who Ezekiel is, one of our prophets, and what the purpose of the prophets was to bring understanding to the people, get them back to the Most High. But a lot of times the prophets were going to the leaders, going to the heads of these tribes. This is the context. When it's coming towards the people, when you see Moshe throughout the Tanakh being told to go to the people, many times he's going to the leaders, the fathers of the homes, things of that nature. So it's being directed towards men. That is very important. It's being directed towards men. And I'm going to let you all know why I'm saying that. I said in the last lesson that the first part to this was a lot of the wickedness and the things that was against the Most High and the encouragement was led by the men. Keep that in mind. Led by the men. A lot of the things that the Most High was doing towards the people was getting done to the men. This is the 90%, 95, 97% of the book is reprimanding the leaders, the men, and the men within the people, because they're supposed to be the leaders of the home. It falls back on them. Okay, keep that in mind, you all. All right, Ezekiel 3, verse 1. It says, moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak unto the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, son of man, cause thy belly to eat, and fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth as honey for sweetness. I remember last week, I think it was, or last week or a couple weeks, I think a question was asked with Gaber Autumn, and it was talking about eating. It was something we were speaking of about eating, and we was bringing forth that it's not just about food. This isn't food. He's not really eating it, but this is information. This is knowledge that is being put on him by the Most High to bring to the people. But he's telling him to eat it. All right. And he said unto me, son of man, go get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with me my words unto them. For thou art not sent to people of a strange speech and of an hard language, but to the house of Israel. Why? Because they're supposed to speak your same language. They're supposed to understand. We're supposed to understand them. It's not going to be hard. It shouldn't be hard. But what is he about to say now? Not, verse 6, not to many people of a strange speech and of an hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely, had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened to me. That says a lot. Deborah talks about circumcise our thoughts, circumcise our mind, right? We got the law and things like that, but we're not understanding it because we're not circumcising our mind. We're not letting our mind become balanced. Balance will allow the Most High to lead us, and those that he put in front of us to give us the understanding, as we saw in Nehemiah, right? When they was giving them the understanding. A lot of us think we have the understanding, and we don't accept anything that anyone is bringing. We know it all, but that's not how we operated as Yisrael, the righteous ones anyway. That's not how we were supposed to operate. And that's what he's saying right now. If I give it to another people, they're gonna hear what I'm saying. They're gonna understand it. Surely, verse 6, had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee. But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hard-hearted. What is impudent? Right? They lack respect. They have no respect for me. That is what he's saying. They have no respect for me. I just lost my give me 1 second. Where is it at? There it is. They have no respect for me. None. It says, but the house of Israel. Now, when you look at this, you thinking all of Israel, every last one of them, which it still applies, but it's talking about the leaders, the men. This is who it's directed towards. Yes, the children, the women are a result of it, but it's dead towards the men. We have to be a certain type of way. But the house of Israel, verse 7, will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent. They lack respect and are hard-hearted. Right? Deuteronomy chapter, I forgot what chapter, but it tells you to circumcise your mind, your heart. Behold, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead strong against their foreheads. As an adamant harder than flint have I made thy forehead. Fear them not, neither be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Do you know how many people, if you're sitting up here trying to present something to people, they'll look at you like, what are you talking about? You bet not say this. Most High telling Ezekiel right now, do not focus or worry about what they say or how they look, because if you do, it will cause you to fall into it, like our Aharon did with the people. Bless his memory. The fear of the people could cause you not to bring the message that you're supposed to bring. And that's what he's telling him right here. I'm bringing this out for a reason before we get back to Sirach. All I have made thy strong, verse 8, I have made thy face strong against their faces, and thy forehead, your forehead, strong against their foreheads, right? As an adamant harder than flint, have I made thy forehead, your forehead. Fear them not, neither to be dismayed at their looks, though they be a rebellious house. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, all my words that I shall speak unto thee, receive in your mind, and hear with your eyes. Pay attention, listen attentively with the focus on doing what I'm saying. Verse 11, and go, get thee to them of the captivity. A lot of us say we're in captivity over here, right? Go thee to them of the captivity, unto the children of thy people, and speak unto them, and tell them what says the Most High, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, no matter what. He's telling them, go ahead, let these people understand and let them know. All right. Yeah, Karen, goodbye, Autumn. All right. So what we're going to do now, I wanted to bring that forward, and we're going to go to chapter 25 of Sirach. I'm going to read from this so you all can go. Oh, shalom, Prince. I didn't see you there. Shalom. I was watching the screen. So we're going to go in chapter 25, and we're going to go to verses 24 through 26. I was trying to paint a picture, and if you go through the whole Tanakh, you will see this picture. You will see majority of the text is reprimanding our men. Majority, because we're supposed to be a certain type of way. Okay? But again, in Sirach, this is during the time of Hellenistic period, dealing with Greek, right? So he's bringing forth this information in a time to where it's fading away. A lot of our people here that are Yisrael, even them themselves that's in this path, are still operating like we do when we're in the world, because we're still free spirited. We're still free spirited. We don't like accountability. We don't like rules. Only when we're trying to make money. Anyway, let's keep going. So chapter 25, this is what we ended out last week. I had to go back and listen to the last part of it, because I do recall, and let me know if the signal goes down. But verse 24 says, of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. Right? Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to God abroad. Let's stop there. So this chapter that we're about to go into, throughout Sirach, it talks about a wicked woman. It talks about a righteous woman. It talks about wicked children. It talks about righteous children. So if you have not read this book, please go back to the first lesson and or read it yourself for more context. Okay, that's why I started in Tanakh, so you can understand where his mind is, what he's saying. So when he's saying of a woman, verse 24, came the beginning of sin, understand that sin came about due to one major reason is Adam did not have to take that information that was given. Adam did not have to take that information that was given. When he took that information, that's when that the consequences that was given to us took place. We have to make that known and make that be understood. But when it says the sin came from her, another thing to look at from Adam, because it says, give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty to go abroad. Now, not saying that she is wicked or was wicked, but what you can learn from their scenario, their situation, is the liberty that a lot of our men allow their home to do can be the cause of what happens in their home. Remember, his house shall soon be overthrown due to this liberty that is being given to their home and to their house. We have to keep that in mind. We got to remember, contextually, we were a people that were together. We were a people that had rules. We were a people that our community moved as one. We were a community that had other leaders within it that came together, put structure in place for the safety and the building of our community, not allowing people to come in and not allow anybody to affect our women, things of that nature. So when him bringing this out, I want to add to what he's saying. And the part that I want to say is that the liberty part, he gave too much liberty, right? And allowed Hawa to end up taking this information. They're both at fault. But what I'm trying to do, we can learn from that and look at that now. We allow people within our community too much liberty, our children, our wives, our community, and that's why we fall. Let's keep going. So chapter 26, verse 1, we're going to go through this chapter actually. And it says, blessed is the man that has a virtuous wife, right? Eshet Chayil, or a woman of valor, woman of strength. For the number of his days shall be doubled. A virtuous woman rejoiceth her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Most High. Whether a man be rich or poor, keep that in mind, if he have a good heart towards the Most High, he shall at all times rejoice with a cheerful countenance. I think that's important, the rich or poor, because this rich or poor man still has a wife. This rich or poor man still has a wife. Everyone is not rich. Nor should we, when we're trying to find husbands for our daughters, be so focused on what this man has. That's a part to have it, but how is their character? How's their integrity? How's their conflict resolution? I like to say when we already talking. How do they deal with how can they deal with other people in conflict? Because how they deal with other people in conflict is how they're going to deal with your daughter. And or may try to beat your daughter and things of that nature. It's more than just that. As I stated earlier, it's people that kill themselves as rich, but they're not complete. Is he resourceful? What about the sources around him? He might not be rich, but he might be resourceful. He might have sources, right? Communities. His name might be a certain way among the people to where people gravitate towards him to help that can help build what it is you're trying to view for your daughter, right? So that's why I like that this did say whether a man be rich or poor. Okay, verse 5. There be three things that mine heart feareth, and for the fourth I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, right? The gathering together of an unruly multitude, and false accusation. All these are worse than death. But a grief heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of tongue with communication with all. Why? Think about it. This is within a communal setting. Context here, communal setting. This still is the same thing for people that's not in a community. But communal setting, if it's backbiting, if it's sitting up here saying things about one another, not coming together and figuring out how you can correct whatever it is, but if you're just spreading stuff, you can destroy what you built. That's what it's saying right here. All right. An evil wife, so that means there's a righteous wife as well. An evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that have hold of her is as though he held a scorpion, right? A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causes great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. These are talking about different. We see this in our community. We see men and women, how they operate when they're drunk. We see how women operate when they're drunk. This is what he's speaking of right here. The whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids, right? If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. How many of us have seen our daughters that are not in a certain path like we are now, or what people are striving to be right now, that are out there, that have they just their liberty is just they can do whatever they want. How many children come about from that? How many sex partners come about from that? Right? This is why it's telling you, if the daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly. Maintain and keep what it is that she is, that you taught her, keep her on that path. But if she abused herself being overmuch, having liberty out there, it's about to tell you what's going to happen. Okay, going back up to verse 9 and say the whoredom of a woman may be known in her haughty looks. So if you ever saw women that kind of look at certain men, how they move when they walk past, give them that eye, it's speaking of that right now. Right? We got to watch how as women, how you're looking at other men, especially if you're married. Right? Keep that in mind. Watch over an imprudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against thee. She will open up her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he hath found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow. Listen to what it's saying. By every hedge will she sit down, and open up her quiver against every arrow. If this is not you, this is not talking about you. This is not talking about us here that's trying to be righteous. The men and women present, those that's listening. But what it is saying is a woman that might be going down this path, or who may be this, is someone that's always in every room with another man, around other men, at all moments, at all times. Open her quiver against every arrow. You could take that how you want to take it. Right? But you shouldn't be open to everything that other men that's outside of the community or outside of what you have established with your family, right? You shouldn't be present like that. That brings forth certain things that we do not want for our women. We want our women to maintain what it is the Most High wants them to be, as righteous, as virtuous, as protected. Keep that in mind, you all. The grace of a wife delighteth her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. A silent, watch this, and loving woman is a gift of the Most High, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. This telling a woman to be quiet? No. You go up in context. It was just talking about, I put in the community portion in there, but it talked about spreading rumors and things like that. A wise woman and man understands when to bring certain information out there, how to speak, how to operate with their tongue, right? Because it has destroyed nations. It has destroyed communities. So it's saying a silent and loving woman is a gift of the Most High. Going into prayer, things of that nature. That's still speaking. We need that. We need that. It says a shamefaced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. As the sun when it arises in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. So she's ordering. So the ordering of her house. So why is it saying the ordering of her house? Because she is the one. After that structure has been established with that man and woman, they building together, they're growing together, they're serving the Most High together, so they're understanding how they're supposed to move, right? And they say the first teacher is the woman to the child. That's what they say, correct? So the ordering of the house is going to start from that man, from the wife to the children. So it needs to be a certain order so that what we're going to read, or what we had read actually, the last the first part when we was talking about worthless children. Remember that? Who all remember that? Put ones in the chat if you all remember when they talked about worthless children in the first part of this lesson from Sirach. or Ecclesiasticus. Anyone remember that? Say that. So for those that's not knowing what I'm speaking of, it was talking about how worthless children are basically not beneficial, right? It's not saying that not to love your children. It's not saying that. But our goal and job as a community, right, is to produce children that is going to honor and praise the Most High, first and foremost, and keep the goal that Yisrael is supposed to accomplish collectively. If their goal is not that, if their goal is not building Yisrael, serving the Most High, then they are what this is saying, worthless. Worthless as it pertains to the Most High and the community and the people, right? Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. I'm not saying that, but we all have a purpose and what we're supposed to do for our people. We all have a purpose, what we're supposed to do for the Most High. We have that purpose, and if we're not fulfilling that purpose, then that's when we become worthless. I wasn't trying to rhyme, by the way. All right. What verse am I on? So what I want to do is we're going to keep going down. All right. As the sun, let's jump down to verse 19. We're still in chapter 6. Go ahead.
Can we take questions?
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. I was going to take that. Say that again.
You'd rather wait?
Yeah, I wanted to go through the rest of this chapter, and I was going to bring in the questions.
Listen.
All right. So verse 19 says, "My son, keep the flower of thine age." Right. So now we're getting into the son. We talked a little bit about the woman. We talked a little bit about what type of daughter we should focus on. Right. Not allowing too much liberty, because what can happen? We have some wicked men out there that can, cause them to lose everything that you work towards, as far as their character, as far as their integrity, as far as their faith in the Most High. So now we're going into the son. It says, "My son, keep the flower of thine age sound, and give not thy strength to strangers." Right? What are strangers at this point? Strangers are those that are not focused on what it is we're supposed to operate within as a culture. Those are strangers. When we go outside of our culture, when we go outside of our rules, that is strangers, right? It says, "When thou hast gotten a fruitful possession through all the fields, sow it with thine own seed, trust it in the goodness of thy stock, so thy race, which thou leavest, shall be magnified." Why is it going to be magnified? Right? Having the confidence of their good descent is going to be magnified, and they're going to gain the confidence because they have been rooted. They have a great foundation. That confidence. I mean, think about it. Princess Madiah always speaks on her foundation being from Black Panther, right? Black Panther movement, her family, and them being very invested in there, all the great things they have done. And you see it in her, how she moves, right? You see that in how Prince moves from, his foundation, what he has learned, and how his growth has brought him to what he is now. But it's a foundation. Now they're confident. Now when we pass it on to our children, they're confident now. As Princess is confident with her, from her upbringing of Black Panther. Now she's confident in community and how we should operate, how we're going to be successful. My Ishah, her family, how they had started off and they are now so close-knit as a family. The foundation of how she moves, right? We learn certain things on our own through the foundation, but the foundation it catapults where we are now. So it's saying right here, it's saying, "So thy race, which thou leavest, shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent." Okay? This is going to make sure that house not be overthrown. That house is not just a body of people. You are the beginning of your house as well, or you partake in that house that you created with another person. These are things that we need to focus on. We're almost done with this chapter. I'm going to bring questions in right after this. Verse 22 says, "And harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband." Right? So a harlot should be accounted as spittle, right? But a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. So notice it didn't talk about women that wasn't married. It literally just said a harlot. Every woman that's not married is not a harlot. So I'm just trying to give context on what it's saying for you. It says a harlot, it should be counted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. A wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Most High. You know how many of us as men do not like this scripture because we place the blame somewhere else. We don't put the blame on ourselves. We hate the term wicked, right? But sometimes we do acts that are wicked. It says a righteous man will fall 7 times. So you're going to fall. That's not a real number, by the way, but you're going to fall. The goal is not to do it again. So sometimes you being wicked as a man because this God is wicked. So it got to be something that you didn't do to get her. It got to be steps that you did not include or involve to get her. Maybe you didn't have someone there to be like, hey, no, that's not a good look. You're trying to accomplish this. This is what you need to help this grow. Maybe you didn't have that, and now you done got this individual. Right? So it says a wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that feareth the Most High. A dishonest woman contemneth shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. Right? A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog. Watch this, you all. But she that is shamefaced will fear the Most High. I'm going to show you one spot. We're going to finish this, but I wanted to read that because that sounds harsh. But do you all remember what I said in the beginning? Do you all remember when I said that everything, like we don't hear a lot of moments where this is being spoken of like this. So what I want to do is I want to take to women. So what I want to do is I want to take us to Isaiah 56 and 10 really quickly. And I'm going to share my screen. But let me find Isaiah 56 and 10. Let me find Isaiah 56 and 10. Where are you at? Isaiah 56 and 10. I'm going to share the screen right now so you all can see. Because people cringe when they hear this, right? They hear like, man, see, this is misogynistic and things like that. But when you really think of the context of our literature, it is geared towards us as men and leaders. Watch this. Can you all see this? Can everyone see this? All right. We're at verse 10, and it says, his watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber, right? Why am I bringing this out? This verbiage is not towards women, but it is towards the act in what it's speaking of, right? So it's speaking of right here, his watchmen are blind. The watchmen are supposed to teach the people. That's what they're supposed to do. But if they're ignorant and they are what this says, they are all dumb dogs, how can you lead the people? And what are the people going to end up being after that? What are the women going to be? What are the children going to be if the watchman is this? All right. Let's take some questions. I don't want to bore. Let's take some questions. Any questions?
Boy, what a lesson, what a lesson, what a lesson. I've been waiting for this part. The questions. Well, you said a whole lot of things today, Naseekh. You said a lot of things. You said so many things. But one of the things I wanted to touch on, you mentioned in your lesson today where you said we allow too much to our children, too much liberty to our children, too much liberty to our wives. But when you started the lesson, you started off by talking about Hawa, Eve, in the garden, partaking of the forbidden fruit or whatever the forbidden knowledge. And you said that Adam didn't have to take of that knowledge. You're right. I've always felt within me, and I think you agree. I think you feel the same way. I'm not sure. I believe I'm sure that, and I'm going to tie this in, that how Adam actually dropped the ball by not doing his job, watching over his wife in what she was doing, but yet all the blame is given to the woman when in reality, it's the man. It's our fault for dropping the ball and not doing our job as the protectors and providers of our home to make sure that these Yeladim, these Nashim, that they come up in righteousness. Like the very last chapter that you just read in Isaiah. What was that, 59?
Isaiah 56 and 10. Yep.
Yeah. Like that very last one that said that the watchman was responsible for the suffering and the destruction of the people. And in a home, the father is supposed to be the watchman who's responsible for the destruction of his family. I thought that was very, very crafty how you put that together. You know, the art of teaching is to make the person listening think and draw conclusions based on the information that you're providing. So you did a great job. May the Most High be praised.
So all glory to the Most High. Anyone else have any questions? Any comments? Real quick, why is Sirach also named Ecclesiasticus? Are these people's names? So Sirach, I got to go into it, but I believe that's the Hebrew version of Ecclesiasticus, but it's not a name from my knowledge. Ecclesiasticus, anyway. You have any background on that, Prince?
Which one of them books is called The Preacher?
Ecclesiastes.
Okay.
Kohelet.
Kohelet. Well, Ecclesiasticus is exactly, it's like a bunch of teachings, a bunch of sayings brought together to bring about an overall understanding, like a teaching. Yeah. I don't know what the word Sirach actually means. I have never looked that up. I don't know if it's a person's name or not, but I know that it's supposed to be a bunch of short stories to bring about a greater message, just like the book of Ecclesiasticus. Right? Toda
for that question. That was a great question. And I'll look more into it for you. I know that's not his name, by the way. His name is Yehoshua ben Sarah. Right? So I think Prince hit it right on the nail with that one. But I'll confirm it for you. Go ahead.
Toda to you both. Basically, Ecclesiasticus. So my mind is kind of going, well, if Ecclesiasticus is also named Sirach, shouldn't Ecclesiastic, like the other one, also have a different name? So I guess I'm just confused on where Sirach came from. You know, like what is that? Where is that coming from? If this is the name of the book, where does Sirach come from?
Okay, I'm going to bring it out. It may actually be attached to, because he's the grandson, if I'm not mistaken, to his grandfather. Name is Sarai. So I'm wondering if it has anything to do with that, but I'll confirm that for you. I'll get back to you on that probably before the second half. You know, we look up stuff, make sure we get the answer for you all quick. But Ecclesiastes, as Prince brought out, like the Hebrew is Kohelet. So it's just it's just translation or transliteration, I suppose. But we'll get that information for you. All right. Any more questions? Any more comments before we continue? We have a little bit to go. I want to get through it. But we definitely like the portion of bringing out the questions. Anything else?
Shalom. Just quickly, of course, I commented when you spoke on the tower, a woman, a wife being a tower of death. And I, in my comment, I put righteous because that's the one thing that we have to realize, even though those words aren't always stated, because there are many marriages, and sometimes, there are many wives, but that doesn't mean a wife is being righteous. And so we as women have to remember that our character is also part of that title of being a wife and being a mother. And when we attain that character, that means we're taking on so much more than we even think. Just by saying I'm a wife does not just mean I'm married to this man and that's the end of that. It's a period there. It's not, it's actually dots there because it encompasses so much. So it's something I even speak with my daughters, like, when you become a wife, it's so important because you have to first master who you are in yourself, who you are as a woman. And then, because becoming a wife, you're taking on so much more than some of us, are even ready for or capable of, because I'm one who believes it takes time to become that, even if you become a wife and you weren't ready, you still have the opportunity to grow into it, especially if you have a righteous husband. And then also, if you place yourself amongst other righteous wives and elders, who can actually help you become that. But I think what the bigger thing is, a lot of women are afraid to ask for guideship or guidance, or reject guidance because they feel like I know how to do this. I know how to whatever. I know how to be a wife or a wife rather. But a lot of them weren't even trained growing up how to even be a woman, to understand even what it means to even step into that role. So I think it's very important. It's something that we've talked about in our community, is helping to guide that, because that's why so many marriages fail, because there is no guideship. We don't have a book to tell us how to be a woman, how to be a wife, none of this stuff. But part of it is because, part of not knowing is because it's not shared. And part of our duty, especially those of us who have become in these spaces and who are attaining to be righteous, who are striving to, stay in our integrity and stand, as you said, a tower, against death for our husbands, for our children. It's important for us to be able to seek out advice, seek out assistance in that role, because it's not easy. It's a bigger role than what we think it is. And people tend to be like, oh yeah, it looks so easy. It's not easy. It's a big role. And so it's important that we look at every, like when I love the book of Apocrypha. Well, I love the book of Sirach. Let me put it like that. Because every time I read it, the wisdom that's in there is so powerful and it's so profound. And I think so many people look over it, and they don't look deeper into it. And it's like, what's being mentioned here is so much more that we're supposed to go deeper within ourselves first and foremost, and grab what's needed. And then if we don't have it, we have to seek out other people, righteous people, who can help us to help attain it. And it's okay to say, oh, I don't know how to be that yet, but I need help. And so I think it's so important that we begin to be able to help our young daughters, help our sons, to step into those formats of being men and women, and then husbands and wives and parents. Because once you come into those steps, it's like, it's a lot of responsibility. And it's not as easy as what they try to make you see on TV or what they put in a book, what the definition of it is. It's a character that you have to uphold, and it's a part of a life that you have to now attach to who you are for the rest of your life. So I'm just I thank you for bringing that out. It made me really think about a lot of things, and just really consider what our responsibility is, you know, once we know of these things. So, say who?
Powerful, powerful. Told out for that. Go ahead, Gabriel Autumn.
Oh, did you want to do Zakana Cecilia's comment first?
Oh, I didn't even see it. Zakana Tasia said, can you comment on my previous comment? Growing up, I felt that we had too many rules and restrictions that cut into our freedom of autonomy. Okay, what was the other comment that she? Okay, true liberty. Let me pull it up. Oh, true liberty has constraints. When we go outside its perimeters, we become bound by the two other spiraling laws. So I think she elaborated with the last thing she said. So to comment on the last part of what you said, along with this one, I believe that it needs to be a balance. I believe that we try so hard to do what we're reading, especially if we're coming and trying to become righteous, that sometimes we're not balanced in certain things due to not studying culture, not studying the context of why things are put in place. But just going back to your comment in a more realistic format, which is still the Tanakh, in my opinion, it's the lack of balance. It's a lack of balance. We might want to protect too much. And then it's a lack of community. So you might have a lot of people that are in our walk that may be doing this, but since they don't have, let's say, people that they could trust that's next to them that could play with their children, now they keep their children locked up the whole time. And it brings resentment and things of that nature in place. I just think it's balance. I always say community is the biggest thing. Now, Jeremiah 29 is the biggest thing, but we need more people. Good quality people, as Prince and Princess would say, but we do need more people, right? Like on this land, if we had a child on this land and this child was growing by itself, it's going to get bored. It's going to want to rebel. It's going to want to leave because it's nobody outside of what's here on this land. So to answer your question, in my opinion, I just believe it's balance. It's balance needed. And I go to Jeremiah 29 so much because it says to marry your daughters with sons of the people around you. Grow, build homes together, plant together. So now you're not as alone, right? You're together. To answer your questions, I came to Cecilia. That's what I believe the problem may have been or might be. You know, and then when they get out there, go to different schools, you know, when they're away from you most of the time, now those that are outside of you, their morals might be different, their ideologies might be different, they might gravitate more over there. Hence, what happened here in the Hellenistic time period. What was happening with the Maccabees? They saw what was outside of them, what they were so used to, and that looks interesting, which means we got to bring things and make things interesting. Like here on Beulah Land, we got things that we're about to put in place be fun for the children. You know, basketball courts and little parks and tactical fields and I was about to bring this to Prince too, like a little maybe a dirt a little thing they could get on, you know, just fun, make it fun. So that won't be, I didn't get to say that to you, Prince. I just thought about that like yesterday, but just certain things to make it fun, make it comparable to those that's outside of us. Dirt biking, yeah, make it comparable to those outside of us, so we won't be like, man, I wish I could do that, you know. So that's my answer. Hopefully I answered it. Zakana to say it. We will continue, everybody. We ready? Because we have a little bit of time left. All right, so now I'm going to chapter 28. I'm reading 1 through 9. Agreed, balance is indeed necessary. That's what it is. That's what it is. The Most High said a false balance is an abomination. Or our scripture says a false balance is an abomination. That be the cause of so much failure. Verse 1. Chapter 28, we're doing 1 through 9. So please take notes if y'all want to go back into Sirach or Ecclesiasticus. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. But read it with context. Read it with knowledge of the Tanakh and how it moved, because certain things may turn you off if you're not, if you may not, know those things. All right. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Most High, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance. Watch this. Forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he have done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest. One man beareth hatred against another, and does he seek pardon from the Most High? He showeth no mercy to a man, which is like himself, and does he ask forgiveness of his own sins? If he that is but flesh nourish hatred, who will retreat for pardon of his sins? Remember thy end, and let enmity cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments. Remember the commandments, and bear no malice to thy neighbor. The covenant of the highest, and wink at ignorance. I like that. The wink at ignorance part is important. Again, to me, this is dealing with community. A lot of times, think of Christians when they read the Tanakh, like for example, when it says, "Raise up a child in the way it should go, and it will not depart." I do not believe that that's just dealing with any and everybody, because we see clearly that when people are raising a child up in Christianity, they depart because they're not a part of a community, one, that's balanced, and two, they're pushing them on the rest of the world. So this right here, when it's talking about your neighbor, when it's talking about forgiveness, right? Don't hold vengeance to them. Wink at their ignorance. You might have a little more knowledge as to why someone is doing something. It is our job to operate a certain type of way to someone that's like that. It's not saying that you got to be best friends with them. It's not saying that at all. It's telling you to forgive, but it's not telling you to be best friends. It's telling you not to hate, right? It's telling you to love, because you want to get forgiveness from the Most High. What does this have to do with the lesson? His house shall soon be overthrown, because this is a community right here. And if you're acting with vengeance with those that are here, and you're acting in pride or arrogance, I should say, not pride, arrogance, holding something, now you're doing what we just read a couple chapters ago, spreading rumors, helping to destroy this community that you're a part of. This is what this is speaking of. This is what we have to do. We have to show some grace towards our neighbors. Our neighbors being here in the community, a part of the community that you're a part of. Now, those that are strangers, right? Strangers to where you live, it's still a certain way we got to operate with them as well. So I'm not saying not to operate a certain way with strangers, but you should not be that way towards your neighbor. It says, abstain from strife, and thou shalt diminish your sins. For a furious man will kindle strife. If you're always angry, you're going to start something that didn't need to go there. All right. A sinful man disquieteth friends. I had to look that word up. And maketh debate among them that be at peace. So basically, it's saying a sinful man causes chaos among their friends. Right? I don't even have a definition anymore. But you're a person that lack peace. You're not calm, anxiety, uneasy, and you bring it amongst your friends, your neighbors. Right? It says, and make it debate among them that be at peace. So you just cause something that did not have to be. So we got to focus on that too, to make sure our house is not just where you live. Because if that's the case, the Tanakh wouldn't say the house of Israel, which is filled with thousands historically. Right? So your house is your community. Your house are the communities that's associated with your community. We want to maintain that peace. That is the end of that chapter. That's the end of that chapter. I don't know if you all had anything you wanted to say or bring out before we go to the next chapter. Any comments? Any thoughts? I think some people wrote something in the chat. Let me see. Gaber Kaza says, plant the seed, have the conversation, and allow them to grow. Speaking on the children. Okay. I like that thought process. I understand that thought process. But if I can add additionally, Tanakh wise, culture wise, community wise, Torah wise, that's more so kind of like a view that we learned here, right? Planting the seed, have the conversation, allow them to grow. It depends on what you mean. Matter of fact, can you do that? Can you expound on what you mean when you say allow them to grow? What do you mean? Because I don't want to speak on something I'm not sure what you're actually saying. Because I understand planting the seed, right? The scripture tells us to meditate on the word and multiple times a day with your children. You know, when you wake up, when you're eating, when you sleep, before you sleep, and all of that, right? So you're planting the seed, you're having a conversation. The allowing them to grow. What do you mean by that? Because allowing them to grow from a cultural standpoint would be, for example, when you think of Shemuel and Eli, when he was coming and learning under the priest Eli, he was being taught. He was being taught for the position. He was being taught for the way that he was supposed to go, right? And that was him, the seed being planted, the conversations daily, the lessons, the teaching, and he was growing in that process. He was growing through the wisdom that was being given to him, right? Of course, he had his own what's the word I'm looking for? Proverbs 22:6. All right. What does Proverbs 22:6 say? Let's go to it. Proverbs 22:6. Okay, that's the train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. But the part I want to say but to, because that's the part I brought up with the train up a child. How many of us, as when we were Christians, and those that are still Christians, have departed from what they've been taught due to they're not involved in culture or community that all have a certain ideology that is formed and structured in a way for our success? How many of us as men and women have been through or created many partners, many children, things of that nature? These are things that if we had structure and culture and community, there's a chance more than likely that would not have happened. So that scripture, Proverbs 22:6, is literally speaking from a standpoint of a communal point of view that are operating from the Torah. The person that wrote Proverbs 22:6 was a person that operated through the Torah and wrote that in the mind of the Torah. But those that are not, all these different individuals that's keeping the Bible and quoting that scripture are not operating within the Torah. So that's some things to think about. All right, anybody else?
I kind of wanted to, well, I had a question and a comment because I hear that a lot in Israel.
What's that?
And the Proverbs 22 verse 6. Mm-hmm. And I also see where a lot of leaders or elders, or let me say men, use that to try to say their children can't go off to college because of that particular proverb. They use that to say if they go off to college, then they'll be tainted and turned against, what they've been taught all these years. And I find when I first came in this way of life, that was something that was like taught so heavily, oh, I'm not sending my daughter. Well, let me just put like that. My daughter, they were adamant about their daughters going off to college, but the sons, it was okay for them to do it. And I know for me, having daughters, I felt that if I'm a believer as if you train your children and you teach your children certain morals and integrity and things like that, and you know your child. I believe all of us know our children who have children. You know what their character, you know what they're capable of, right? Then not allowing them in some ways to go to college. And then they would say, not, I won't just say not go to college, but they said they couldn't go away to college. Like they couldn't go if they wanted, if they had a scholarship and they got into some great college, or even if they didn't, but they didn't want to allow them to go off to college. They didn't want them to stay in their dorms because they felt they would then be turned against, the creator, or be influenced, if not completely turned, but just influenced. And I'm one who believes that that's not always true. I do believe that we know our children. And I know, like, okay, this particular child, it may not be good for them to go too far. But you have some children, daughters, let me put it like this, daughters who can and thrive doing things like that. So I guess I'm asking, what's your perspective on that, and of using that proverb to kind of align with that thought process to in my opinion, keep our daughters back versus allowing them to, go out and thrive, and having, of course, I'm a parent, so there's no 100% trust in my children, but having the understanding that you did your part, you trained your child, you know what I mean? It's like, it's only but so far. And that's where I think Sister Aisha is saying there's going to be errors in them especially once they become a certain age, they're going to venture out, regardless whether we want them to or not. That's what happens. But our job in training them, and it never ends, of course, we're their parents until we take our demise. So we're always continuously teaching them. But for how far do we go to try to keep them, in a space where, until we allow them to kind of grow and understand. And I'm putting emphasis on daughters because a lot of men, leaders in this way of life, like to hold back their daughters as if their minds are weak, and their sons are so much stronger. If you understand everything I said, I hope.
I did. It's a lot to unpack, so I'm gonna try to go. I'm gonna go backwards. Last thing that you just said. I understand your point and I understand their point. But to answer the last thing you said, I don't think it's because they think that we're stronger. I think that they are protecting more than what is being seen. And I want to go back to that scripture first, but after this. You said something. You said that that's not everyone, which I agree. I always say it's a remnant of a remnant, right? So I believe can possibly young adult women go away to college and they not be affected. They will be, in my opinion, a remnant of a remnant that do that. But the majority of our people that have no foundation or cultural integrity and accountability, it will be extremely, extremely hard. I think anecdotally, some of us may look at our children that have a great head on their shoulders and have shown consistency of not being moved or affected or manipulated or influenced, and not see the bigger picture of us as a people. And as a people, it is a proven fact statistically that it can end up having our child, our daughter, go and be affected. You know how some people got, this is not talking about dogs, by the way, but me and you and Prince was talking about how we don't let her out because if she gets out, another dog can impregnate her, and now you don't got another dog coming to impregnate her. Some people might not like that analogy, but the truth of that is, if your daughter is not as strong as you believe your daughter to be, because influence is greater than upbringing from a standpoint of how much influence they allow in their life. I'm gonna come back to that. going to the scripture point of view, we have to realize that then is not now. That scripture and that Tanakh is what people that didn't go away and send their daughters away. Culturally, contextually, and historically speaking. So we're using the scripture that what we are doing is totally different and would not have been allowed today. And back then it was more dangerous because now we got police officers and stuff around. So we feel so much more protected. Then they understand your daughter could get snatched, killed, raped, whatever. I mean, vaped. Sorry, because there's a YouTube or whatever. So it's different. We're viewed. So I saw Gabera Autumn comment. She had said, she was like, oh, wow, men use that scripture to say daughters can't go to college. I understand them having an opinion, but using the scripture to say that seems wild. And that is an exceptional comment that she said. And that is a reasonable comment that she said from the thought process that we have here today. But contextually, historically, those scriptures and those people understood that we could not do that back then. Today, it's a little lighter. You call police, people come. But spiritually and mentally, that's what we're speaking on now. It's a remnant of a remnant. Your daughter might be, not yours, princess, but yours too, might be able to go to a college and not be manipulated by these men. These men is worse than what we're talking about. So those fathers that's saying that, I commend them. Because if I have a child, I have to think on how I know men are. That's not accountable and have the Most High leading them. And even with the Most High leading them, if you by yourself and you don't have nobody holding you accountable, you will fall as a man too. How much more as a woman? Not because you're less smart or you're not strong. It's because it's protection involved. That's all. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I get what everyone's saying, but princess, you know how I am about security. You know, I know you come from a background, Black Panther moves, so you strong, but that is a small percentage. We're talking about the bigger percentage of our women. So hopefully I answered the question. I know how we're looking at it, but we're still looking at it from a Eurocentric mindset of our upbringing and the lack of that Torah being implemented in our lives before coming into this walk. So we still have that in our mind now. And with that, I hope it's understood.
Mhm.
Trying to be balanced and fair. It does not mean a woman is less smart or anything like that. I believe that has nothing to do with it. I think they're looking at it, and people could say maybe it's from fear. And I accept it being fear, because guess what? That woman get pregnant 9 times out of 10, where that baby going? All right. So our people, our women in Proverbs 31, their business and stuff like that was within the community. They wasn't thriving to go out there and work for somebody else and then be a work husband, work wife, and things like that. That stuff happens, and we know that. The crazy thing is, people on this call right now know how crazy it is in that world. Know how manipulative men are out there in that world. Know that how strong you think you are, you more than likely will fall if you don't have somebody else or a few people that is on the same path as you and that's going to say, no, you don't need to go to that party. No, you don't need to go to that place. No, you don't need to do this. Last thing I'm saying about this, it was this video I saw of someone going to a party. They went to a party. And long story short, one of the men got kicked out, came back in, shot up the place. 2 or 3 people died. Well, Naseekh, you going too far. That don't normally happen. But we don't know if it will happen. So it's just protection, I believe. And that's just them trying to get back to the roots. And it looks so foreign to us because we are so used to what we have grown up with. So I take my hat off to you, princess, on what you're saying. I'm not against it. I'm just trying to bring in addition to it as to maybe, because I don't know those men. Those men could be wicked who you're talking about that's in Israel. But if they're righteous, I understand where they're coming from. Do you have anything else you want to say, or Prince, you want to weigh in on it?
I absolutely do. I couldn't wait for this conversation today. It's just rocking my world. Man, let me tell you something about this right here. See, I actually lived it. So I know what I'm talking about because I actually lived it. But as parents, our job is to protect our Yaladim, our children. As parents, we're supposed to protect them. Because we have grown a little more in age versus our children, we have a lot more knowledge and experience of what the real realities of life brings. Therefore, we have to protect them to every extreme. You gave a beautiful analogy about the child who went off to school, came home pregnant. Where'd the baby go? You know where that baby going. Usually it's back home to the parents. And the child is probably coming back home. Most of the time got to drop out. It's a horrible thing. But what I've learned is that trying to cause the child to understand why you prohibit certain things, parties, staying over people's houses, traveling every Shabbat or on weekends to different states. They feel like they're grown, like they ought to be able to do this. But life's experience has not really kicked in because all they've seen was the easy stages of life because you've been such a providing parent. You've made their lives so simple that they don't see the hardship, the pain and the suffering that you go through so that they won't experience those things. So when you say to your child, no, I don't want you going away to college. I don't want you going away for this weekend. I don't want you spending the night over this person's house. As the father, if you're saying those things and then the mother's in the background saying something else, the child will hate you. And that child is going to gravitate toward the mother. She may not go do it, but it's going to always be in her soul. And the moment she gets to do it, she out. And she's going to overdo it. And then years later, she'll come back and she'll feel regretful and remorseful for the decisions she's made because now she's going to be locked up with children. A whole lot of other things are going to take place. The whole mission of life that she had in mind did not happen, did not achieve. And it's all because she didn't listen to your instructions when you were raising her. Now, if you got a wife that's a good wife, a real wife, like most of these women here are, you know, y'all, all these women, they all great wives. And those who ain't wives are going to be great wives, but they all great. So they will support the decision that their husbands make. What that does is it helps the child to see things differently when both parents are on the same accord. So if you got two parents wrestling and struggling with a decision in the child of the life of the child, don't allow the child to see that. Do that behind closed doors. And when you talk to that child, be on the same page, the father and the mother, because that will help the child to accept correction, discipline, guidance a whole lot better. And this world ain't got nothing for our children. Keep them home. Our job as parents in this culture is to protect our children, first of all, to protect them from the things that they do not know are lurking in the dark to destroy them. And there's nothing out there in those streets waiting for our children but death and destruction. And when I say nothing, I mean on the mass numbers. Children can get educated. They don't have to go away to go to college to be educated. They don't have to. They can go to community college. They can go to a university right there within your city, within your state. Matter of fact, they ain't got to leave their house. I know I'm taking it to the extreme because you always want your children to experience and have social skills, certain social skills. Yes, you want them to have that, but at what expense? Because it could be detrimental to their lives. And with today, your children is off to college, your female children are off to college, they're snatching a lot of these young girls. You'll never see your daughter again. And people say, well, that ain't happening too often. How often you see somebody you know? Well, I got a couple of them that I know. and it happens more frequently than you believe. That's why women should not be out past 10 o'clock at night, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Because today's world is designed against our people, especially our women, when it comes to safety and provisions in this world. They have nothing in their spirit to try to uplift you or protect you while you're out in the streets. I heard it earlier. I heard it said that the police, we can call the police for what? They the ones doing a lot of the stuff to us. We call the police for. A lot of them are the ones doing a lot of the stuff to us today, hidden and camouflaged under a badge. So it's best that, as Naseekh brought up earlier, community. Community is so important. Extremely, it's so much more needed today than it's ever been since we've been in these United States of America. It's so much more important today. And the thing is, we have the opportunity to do it, but we don't, because we have grown so accustomed to living separated from each other and not relying on each other. We're bringing all of our resources and our energies together. We have learned from the society of a culture that breeds destruction, annihilation from the inside out. But the Torah does the reverse. It breeds life from the inside out. And we have to learn how to tap back into that life. I'm going to hush my mic down. May the Most High be praised. Turn over back.
Shalom. So everything you just said, Ishi, of course, I'm in agreement with. As Naseekh stated earlier, he doesn't know these particular men that I was speaking of. And I brought it up because a lot of times leadership, specifically some men leadership, they use that power that they have. And a lot of times they're not thinking in the mindset that we're speaking of right now. Because in the instance that I'm speaking of course, there was no community. There were no other formats for their daughters to learn. And then the people that they had around their daughters, the so-called eligible men or young men growing up with them, none of their daughters were seeking to even be married to them. And I'm including mine at this time because I was a part of that congregation or, / community, but we weren't living in a communal setting, and nor were most of the people had a communal mindset. So, and bringing this out, I'm bringing it out because as it was stated, of course, when a lot of times everything we read in the Tanakh was written thousands of years ago for our ancestors who weren't exposed to none of what we're exposed to. None of what our children are exposed to, any of it. So I brought it up because when I see people use precepts and books to kind of align their thought without them actually truly putting complete thought to it, it irks me because it's like it's kind of like you're using the Creator's word against your child in a very negative way, because you're not giving them the full picture. You're just taking words and then you're spewing them to your children as a punishment, but you're not giving them the full picture of why or where that was stated, how it was stated, and what it was intended for. And so I brought that up because also, as you stated, I do have older daughters. I have 3 daughters. 2 of them are adult age, 26 and 23. And both of my daughters actually went away to college. And both of my daughters, when they went away to college, which I'm sure they don't like to be said, but they were virgins. And presently one is married and one still is. And to be honest, and it's not even a clap to me or anything like that. they remained in that stead because of the things that I taught them. At the time when a lot of this was going on, I was married to someone different, and a lot of that spewing was happening. And if you could have been there and seen just the misunderstanding that these daughters were given, because it wasn't like they were giving them something else to align with, to say, okay, if this is what we can do, if we can't do this, then what can we do? How do we maintain? How do we strive to be better, in this society that, we're here in, because that's the truth. And we're in this society now. We're not back in the Bible days, in our forefathers and mothers' days. So how do we survive in this? Because at some point, like I said, even if we have these communities, our daughters, our sons are going to walk out the gates, and they're going to be involved in this world, especially if we don't have something for them inside of these gates. And I'm not just saying the Israelites that are just inside of these gates, but are we building networks with other communities that have a like mind, so that our children don't feel like, oh, we're in this one circle and we can't even go out this gate to know anything, but we go out the gate daily to go to work. We go out, if we have to take them to the doctor, we're going out the gate, for socialization, all these different things. What are we doing inside our gates to allow them to see they have more in here than out there? And how are we aligning ourselves with other communities who have the same thought process as us, who are building in the same format, who are believing in the Creator in the same way? Because otherwise, what we're doing is what, a lot of Westernized mind is the preacher's daughter, the preacher's son. I know we've all heard of that. They keep spewing this to them, the rhetoric, and then when their children get one inkling of a taste out there, they running free. For me, just using, and I'm not a perfect parent, but I really taught my children from the beginning, before I even walked into this life, that familyhood and community is very important, and believing in the Creator beyond anything and everything. And I didn't even know the Creator as I know him now, is beyond doing what I say, because the Most High is beyond that. Well, not doing what I say, but loving me over him. I used to tell my children, don't love me beyond the Creator, because he is the reason why I'm here. And so I think it's so important that we, when we're teaching our children this, and I'm saying this too because I have a teenage daughter right now who is going through some changes because she's in a homeschool setting, and it's no socialization for her, because Israelites, sad to say, especially as adults, we have made so many mistakes, so many decisions that have separated us from one another, and we're not building these relationships with other communities or other like-minded Israelites, so that our children don't feel isolated and feel like they're being left out of something. So in doing this, what we're striving to be, we also have to consider, we have to figure out a way to build these connections. And I even gave my daughter the example, and I understand it, because when we look at other nations, clearly they have made these connections for their children. Because if we notice, they are staying more together than us, than our just for whatever sake, race, they're staying more together because they have built these communities beyond just the little piece of land they live on and the gates that surround them. So what are we doing to make sure that our children get that, what we see everybody else doing, that we're striving for our children to be? Because we want them to be very intelligent. We want them to be strong. We want them to be focused. We want them to be great men, great women, great mothers, great fathers. We want them to continue the legacies that we are now doing and continuing of our parents. And I don't like to say but. So how are we now going to take what our forefathers and foremothers have done, take this word that the Most High has left on record for us, And how are we intertwining in today and making it make sense for them and for ourselves? Because it is a battle. And like we said, our battle is way stronger and way deeper than what our foremothers and forefathers were, because we're in the midst of Babylon. We're in the middle of it. We're sitting in it. And so many are being engulfed by it. You know, our children's friends who are Israelites, they're out there in public schools. They're out there in the world. So it's a lot of battles that we have to face. So what are we doing? You know, what are we doing that is going to help our children and us to be strong in what we say we want to be, because it's not easy. And thankfully, Maisha and I are on the same page about what we want to do and what we need to do. But outside of that, it's so much that they have against them. You know, it's so much that they have at their hand, at their access. Just a flick of their phone, and they get to see a world that we, in so many ways, is not allowing them to visit, or trying to make them seem like it's non-existent, but it's existent. And if we are going to have a community, then that means we have to be able to provide these jobs, provide the socialization, provide the school, provide all the things that they're being able to see in a manner that brings them closer to us and not makes them want to run away. So part of me is saying we can't use, in my opinion, we cannot use certain precepts and verses we can't abuse the Most High's word. We can't use it to threaten our children when it's supposed to be inviting them in. And I know a lot of people do that. And I'm not saying nobody on this format does it, but because our children, this community is new. So we've all been exposed to congregations and communities that have done it wrong. So we're actually trying to reawaken ourselves. We're trying to put a lot of righteousness back into our spirits. And we're kind of like being, in so many words, reborn into this process of building a community for our children. So it's just, I know I'm saying a lot, but it's just heavy on me right now, because I guess because I'm in it. You know, I even spoke to my spiritual Bayeeth Naseekh, because I know that she was raised from little all the way to high school and homeschool. And I asked her the challenges, because even as a mother, I need assistance in this, but I know so many who need assistance in this. And this is why we have our school. But even in that, we have to find a way to reach our children beyond what this system is reaching them, and still be able to make sure that our children are aware of who we are as a people, who the Creator is first and foremost, what the word means in its entirety, and not just taking one precept and saying, well, this is what this says, so this is what you better do. We have to give them the broader aspect of it, and we have to understand it too. Because I'm not, if I don't understand it, I definitely ask questions, and I'm like, well, let's do this together. Let's figure this out together, because there's so much confusion in Israel right now. But the biggest thing is, if we want our daughters to stay with us in these communities, then we have to make sure we're providing a space for them to desire to stay, which means, because it is a desire of young daughters to one day be married, where are the men? And I'm saying real men that our daughters are able to witness and say, okay, I can see myself marrying them. Because right now, most of our daughters see Israelite men and run the other way because of the character that they are and who we've allowed them to be exposed to through our own era. So yeah, I yield, because I know I said a lot. Salakli, Naseekh, I know this was not the lesson. So, but Cain, that's where it is. That's where my heart is today.
Cain. You are mistaken, Princess. This was the lesson. This was exactly the lesson. When I opened up, I had said that when you look at Sirach, when you look at the Mishnah, When you look at what things like Chief Prince Ebulan Belewedeka doing, I'm doing with the books, what we're trying to do here, it's a constant thing. This is what we're seeing here is not new. It has always been, and I'm gonna always say it, a remnant of a remnant. You look at the real history of the Tanakh, because even though it's different now, it's more advanced. You got phones, you got internet, and all that other stuff. They still were doing the same thing back then, and it's always going to be just a small group. So this group here in Beulah, yes, a lot of us have been through certain things. We've seen certain things, and that is what the Most High is using us to do, is to see those things and to learn from it and to change it more according to what put forth. That's what all the prophets did. That's what all the leaders of the Most High used did. Saw what the people was doing wrong, what wasn't going right for the community, what wasn't going right for the women, for the men, and let's put this on book, because it's on book format. That's why the Most High always said, write it on the scroll, write it on this for the next generations, because guess what? Our generation here at Beulah might not be the generation that change it all. It's going to start from the babies that's going to come, that's not born right now, that's going to come, that's going to go into what you're seeing. You know, our goals are to try to make sure like your younger daughter will see the things that you're saying. That's why y'all building the school. That's why you all talking about you know, trips to visit one another, come together more often, build that relationship. Because if we didn't do that, then we would have that same thing that you're speaking of, where we're having children, they're going to leave more than likely, unless they won't. You know, it just depends. So you didn't bring up nothing that we weren't speaking of. The title is "His House Shall Soon Be Overthrown." So the examples you brought up was houses that was overthrown. The men who were speaking and bringing these scriptures out but not executing Jeremiah 29. I mean, may the Most High, you know, correct, bring in place for them to be able to start doing what they need to do. But most are not doing it. Most are not living on land. That's like the first step for those that are in captivity. That's the first step. Now you're able to truly get into what you're talking about. You know, a lot of other communities outside of us, they do send their children to college to bring back. I want to say, to make that clear, bring it back to the community. You don't do that, then that's something different. That's another topic. But to bring it back, but you know what they also do, which I didn't mention, and I wanted to mention soon, is to build so much of a relationship with these children that we have in the community to where you all could send them to college together. Now, what do you have? Hopefully, accountability. Sending them alone, you know, if you do it, you did it, and Most High willing, you are one of the lucky ones that thrive, and that's what you are, princess. Believe it or not, Miss Alma. You know, you are an exception to the rule. So, yeah, we went kind of elsewhere with it, but it still aligns with what I'm trying to bring out now. If we do not implement these things, yes, these precepts, as they call it, which all of it is not precepts. I really dislike when people do that. But these precepts, they are using it out of context when they're not doing it themselves. And our job is to try to make sure that we're doing it, make sure that we create things that our Yeladim going forward can build off of and want to be a part of and want to stay here and continue what it is we're putting forth, that we may not witness, as Prince will say too. We may not witness all of what we're trying to accomplish. And guess what? It's going to be children that's going to do what you just said. They did it with Eli, his sons, in the dealing with the tip. So we got to understand that's going to happen. Our job is to still try to hold and maintain what was given to us. If we let it go and we just think that it's, you know, it's not the same, it's no way we can do it, then we're letting go what was given to us. Our job is to make sure that we put stuff in place that builds off of the Torah. And that's what you see Sirach did. Or Yehoshua ben Sirach. That's what you see he did. That's what you see us doing. That's what you see me doing with the books. So with that, we still got a little time. I could keep going. I don't know if anybody had anything else. Prince, you had anything else? We could keep going because we still got a little more time. All right.
Okay.
All right. So you said, okay.
Yeah, I want to talk.
Go ahead. Let's talk. Go ahead. I'm good with talk. We can have a part 3 to this later.
That's crazy because I said it's going to be a part 3.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a part 3. Appreciate everyone. Matter of fact, first, before Prince speaks, Slackly Prince, make sure you like. If you're liking this conversation, if you're learning anything, even if you're giving us input, whatever, like it, share it, subscribe if you haven't yet, because this is how we're going to grow with these type of topics, these type of lessons, this type of information that's giving us a little more balanced understanding of the topics that we do have. These topics are not new, but we got to figure out ways to make these topics more, what my elder, Chief Elder Morris Slim would say, practical. We have to make it more practical. And what we have now is Princess and some of our women expressing to us, people like Prince, people like myself that's trying to do what we do here, expressing to us, look, we have to add this. We got to figure out a way to add this. We want to still make sure we keeping this Torah, but we want to figure out. So please like, subscribe, share, and leave some comments in the chat so we can read it. Salakli Prince.
All right, here we go. Well, we have to keep in mind that our community is young as a community. It's not that old. So the things that we're learning and experiencing now, we have to develop a method that will allow us to eventually capitalize off of the experiences as we go along. Meaning, we have some children that doesn't have as much of a social life because they're not out mingling in regular schools with hundreds of other children. So their social skills may be dwindling a little bit in that area, but that's a small price to pay for their overall building of the individual. Building the individual's integrity, building the individual's honorability, building the individual's patience, building the individual's dedication to the Creator. See, you have to look at both sides of the spectrum. We are losing a little bit, but on the other end, we have an opportunity to gain so much more by what we're losing out. We can't get emotionally involved in this. And a lot of us getting, oh, I'm so sad. My child is not experiencing other people. What's so good about other people that your child should be experiencing them? Because that's what happens in how we slip from the order of righteousness. I applaud the people who keep their children to themselves as long as they can, until it's time that your child goes out and experience real life. Now, I'm not saying 18, 19, 20 years old and your child don't know anything, because you can raise your child at home and they could be more advanced than the average child out in the street. Let me give you an example of what I mean. If we was to go back 1,000 years ago, the average 14 or 15-year-old is equivalent to our 30, 35-year-old today in their knowledge, their understanding, their capabilities, and what it is that they know how to do. They're not like the 14 and 15-year-olds today would not survive in that environment of our forefathers because they're not thinking. They're not capable. Well, I'm not going to say they're not capable, but we're not teaching them to think strategically and how to incorporate their actions in their lives like a 14, 15-year-old 1,000 years ago could live by themselves. They know how to plant. They know how to look for certain foods to eat. They know how to find water. They know how to survive. They know how to make clothes. They know how to do a lot of things. And our 14 and 15 years old today, they know how to play video games. They know how to pick up their cell phone. They know how to communicate and talk to somebody else and talk about somebody else and gossip. It's all wrong. And we're so much in a hurry to push our children in that environment as opposed to bringing our children the proper environment to make them productive adults, responsible adults, creative adults in their future. I think we got it all wrong in how we're looking at this picture. Sure, they're missing out on some social skills of having friends when they grow old. None of that matters, because right now we're building a foundation and a principle, and those who are to come after us have to understand that same thing. They have to be better than us, greater than us, stronger than us, more disciplined than us. They don't have to experience the heartaches and the pains that we've suffered. Let me break it down this way. People say, and I'm going to go in a strange direction. People often ask, why is it important that a woman doesn't have sex partners when she have a husband? And a lot of people don't understand that, but that same thing is applying right here today. When a woman who has a lot of sex partners and been in a lot of relationships, what happened is her mind, her relationships, is affecting the way she think, the way she operate, the way she do things is primarily affected because of the experiences she had in that life. So let's turn this around. What I'm saying today is our children that we raise under our care, under our covenant, close-knit, and not allowing them to have all those experiences will help purify their minds, will help them to be more useful to the teachings that you have to give to them one-on-one. They can learn so much more, but you have to actively be engaged in their lives and what they're learning and how they're behaving. You have to actually be active in engaging in their lives. And a lot of parents that don't engage in the lives of their children, but yet keep them away from society, is doing them a misjustice. When you go out in the field and you planting trees and your child should be right there with you. So your child can experience it. So your child can learn it. When you digging up the ground to put the hoses underneath the ground to do those, your child or children should be right there with you. So they're learning. So in one way, they might appear to be missing out. In reality, they're being preserved because there's really not nothing out there in the streets for them. It's really not nothing out there. Now, you get emotional. Yeah. Oh, my child is missing when you get emotional. But when you look realistically, what is it out there in the streets for them that you can't provide at home? Matter of fact, the streets most often will not be able to provide what you can provide at home. You just have to be diligent and consistent with the upkeep and the bringing and the rearing of your child. Keep your child with you as much as you can. And if your child, because we're so young, we don't have that many children in our community as of yet. But every day we getting calls, I would say at least every week, we getting calls about people that want to come and be a part of the community. Well, we got like 3 just last week. Calls. Hey, Prince, what's up? What I got to do to be a part of this? I want to bring my children, my wife, and myself, and we want to come and we want to live in the land with y'all. It's a beautiful thing. It's a great thing. Give it time, and we'll have enough children of every age in our community that they can. Now, if you raise your child right, then your child could be a benefit for the new children coming in, trying to weed off all the things that they learned out there in the streets in the world. Because your child was disciplined, intelligent enough to be brought up in the principles and the dynamics of servitude, integrity, honesty, because that's something they don't possess in the streets. Because your child learned this, then your child can be the leader to cast her spirit or his spirit upon the newcomers into the community. And therefore, as we grow, the children's spirits are being cultivated. So they're growing along with the development of the community. These things are extremely important. One thing we cannot do is allow our emotions to get in the way, because if we allow our emotions to get in the way, we will make emotional decisions, and they are never good when you make emotional decisions. Strategic thinking. That's how you make your decisions. You have to consider as much as you're able all angles of the situation or the equation before you come and give an opinion. Turn Rabbi.
Kane told our Prince. Hold on, I'm gonna let you. Princess Ramona want to speak too, but I'm gonna read what your sister just said. Oh, she said, Kane, enjoying the lesson so far. Building as a people with a common unity is needed for both our Yaladim and adults. I've heard beautiful things, Yafad things from my sweetie, Princess Amona about you all. And then we have Zakena Tucelia says studies show that homeschoolers are socially more adept when they go outside their community. They adapt well and are able to make autonomous decisions. All right. We're going to comment on that soon. Then we have Gaber Hadara, I'm assuming.
That's I'm sorry, that's one of our new educators, more Hadassah.
Oh, Hadassah, okay. It's likely. I've been telling my daughter this every day. We don't need to covet to join with the people who do not follow the Most High. Nothing good will come from that. Only destruction, defilement, and death.
Absolutely.
All right. I want to comment. Can I comment before you say? I want to comment on where did it go? I was looking to see you. All right. And my comment is not in disagreement. It's not in disagreement at all. But I want to read it so I can bring my thoughts out. Studies show that homeschoolers are socially more adept when they go outside their community. They adapt well and are able to make anonymous decisions. What are they adapting to? And what anonymous decisions are they making? See, are we talking about financial stability and moving in life, doing certain things, those type of decisions? Or are we talking about spiritual and mental decisions that we have seen most of our men and women in our community fail at with marriages and getting hurt or getting something physically done to them? Like, this is not a scare tactic. These are just truths. So what are they adapting to anonymously, making anonymous, autonomous tours? Is it just that, or is it the stuff that I'm really focusing on the mental and the spiritual right now? Because I think that we are failing tremendously there. It's a lot of us great in the departments that most of us are talking about right now. But the part that we are failing at is that part that I'm trying to bring out, and I think Prince is as well. And that's the mental, that's the spiritual, that's the connection to the Most High, so that you will be able to thrive more. Because there are a lot of people that are autonomous and are taking their lives and are getting their lives taken and are having so many different families and stuff like that. They were autonomous. They were social. So anywho, that's my comment. Did you want to say something, Prince, before I let Princess Amona speak?
I think I'm frozen. Can y'all hear me?
Okay, we can hear you. You are frozen.
Okay. Autonomy is dealing with self-governing, meaning that they will go into the society and make decisions on their own. And if we put the proper principles in them, they will become autonomous when they go into the society that is unlike a society of righteousness, which means that they will be able to stand on their righteous principles because we taught them righteousness, we taught them integrity, we taught them truth, we taught them these things that society is not going to teach them. So when they go out in society, if we raise them properly, then more than likely they'll build a defense against evil and negativity. They'll be far more advanced than the average child or the average adult that they meet in that world. So I'm going to rest on that. And may the Most High be praised. All of this is good dialogue, great dialogue, something that we really need. And all praises go to the King, for he understood and he heard somebody's prayer. He knew what someone was going through this day in order for this conversation to come about in the manner that it did. So may the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah.
Did you want to speak real quick? Zakena Sukari. I always get your name wrong. I'm so sorry. Sukari. Principle, guided strength is necessary tools to prepare our young ones. Teach them in the way they must grow and love and charity, spiritual guidance. I think she was commenting on that part. And I want to say on the autonomous part, think about it. The example I brought with Eli and Shemuel, he was taught to a way that he became autonomous in doing his portion of what he was supposed to do for the people. So I want to put that out there. Ishti?
Okay, I'm trying to be quick. Shabbat shalom lekulam. Just to land back off of what everyone is saying, I am a witness of being homeschooled from pre-K all the way to the 12th grade. My aim and Ab, shalom, shalom. I think they should be listening.
Mhm.
They were my teachers. I did not have any other teachers outside of that. Like how we do at GHA. I had my parents. My Ab helped me learn, and he was definitely one of the great pinnacles of helping me teaching me how to read, my phonics and all that.
He's an encyclopedia, by the way.
Yes, he's a walking thesaurus and encyclopedia.
Mhm.
Also, he speaks French, Spanish, and with my Ish, learning bits of Hebrew. I definitely want to say that it was challenging being homeschooled. I had times where I cried to my aim and asked her, "Can I please be in public school? I want friends." But I had to add this: I watched a lot of Disney Channel. I watched a lot of TV, so I had the impression that this is what school was, having these friends, and I was bamboozled by TV. I'll just put it like that. So we have to just guard the children, the Eladim, and make sure we give them an outlet and let them know that TV, yes, sometimes that happens, but in reality, school for a lot of children is just a place to learn. And after that, go home. They have friends and things like that, but the key thing is to make sure that we are developing our minds and hearts to live in the world, not just get a whole bunch of friends and stack up friends. Because let me tell you something. When I was growing up, a lot of the people that were my age, and by the time they got in their 20s, they had gone through 10 times as much as I had experienced in 1 year. And a lot of people came to my parents and even told me, the way you raise your children or the way they were homeschooled, I wish I would have homeschooled mine. Because when you're not homeschooled and you're just taking your children to a public school is exactly that. There are so many spirits because children are being exposed to so much stuff and they're bringing it to school. They are bringing it to school with them. I'm talking about from everything to pornography to just everything that grown-ups are doing, children are doing in school. I'm gonna put it like that. And then you have to be careful because the teachers are doing it with them now. The system is not to say it's to scare people who have their children in school, because if that's what you can do right now, that is what you can do. But the best thing is to homeschool your children and come up with a plan for their future and tell them and warn them about the things they could be exposed to. It's not just about friends, because let me tell you something. Children can be so mean and hurtful. My mom would tell me, she was like, "You want to go to public school?" She was like, "You would go to public school." And she said, "You would get your feelings hurt." Because I was always shy and always wanting to make friends. But children have a way of not having a filter. They could say something to you and break your heart. And I was just like, oh. So I sum it up. I am grateful for being homeschooled. When you get older, you will have a chance to socialize. And as a grown up, do whatever you want to do. That is you. Of course, you have to move in wisdom. But the thing is, when you're grown up, you can do whatever you want to do. And that's just the thing, making sure you have a balance of what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. It's a lot to say, but I'm just in it at shalom. And I am grateful for my aim. And I'm grateful for everyone that's listening and making the conscious decision to make sure that children are not peer pressured and going into a world that will open them up to things that they did not need or want at a young age. And with that, I yield. Shalom.
I do want to say something that I thought she was going to bring out. It was a story she told me about that she, I knew the story of her and her family being homeschooled and things of that nature. But she told me a story about when I guess, I don't know, maybe they visited somewhere and it was some girls that were a part of maybe a church they went to at one point when they were Christians. And she was saying, which I know this to be true because I'm sure all of y'all do. We all been around this, but this is someone who was homeschooled, and luckily she was able to go and be back home. But imagine if this scenario I'm about to tell you happened to somebody who was brought up with us, but we pushed them, and they might not be strong-minded. They started talking about at their young age. How old were they?
15, 16.
About 15, 14, 15, 16, talking about sex and all that other stuff with her. You know what I'm saying? And all those different things. And if you ain't strong, you know what can happen. So this isn't to say don't send your children to school or nothing like that. But I'm just saying this is an example, a perfect example of her upbringing. And then when you go out there, it's just so much that can happen. So we got to figure out a balance. We got to just figure out a balance to where, like what Prince was bringing out, and what you was bringing out, Prince, but just figure out a balance to where we can make sure that we do not be overthrown. I had to tie the lesson back in. That our house will not be overthrown. That's the part. With that, I yield you. I'll pass it back to Prince. Anybody else?
Well, the one thing I want to mention is probably the last thing for this subject is that I remember a principle that I've learned many years ago, many years ago. It's not your children you don't trust. What you can't trust is nature. Now, if you meditate on that go deep. Social systems, such as we have today, that we find ourselves wrapped up in, is promoting and geared towards sexual relations. And your child can be very young. And peer pressure is a powerful force. To want to fit in, to want to be accepted. Those things are extremely powerful. And if your child is not well equipped with the proper tools to survive that, and you leave them alone with the average group of young people today, they will convert your child. Especially when you send them to public schools and they get to spend more time out with those children than they do at home. Like Princess said earlier, those spirits that those children brought to that school is now going to be up in your child. Your child going to start thinking about and doing things and experiencing things that they never experienced ever prior to socializing at those places. So we got to be real careful. But if more people bring themselves to this community and places like this community, then the better our chances are of building these communities all together, socializing with people who have like spirits and like minds. Nobody's perfect. No one's perfect. But we get with those who have like spirits and like minds. We allow our children to commune with them while we're there in our presence so they can build friendships with other people, not just themselves. And that's how we have to do this. Because if we're trying to mingle in with the world, as Naseekh said earlier, public school, that's exactly what it is, public school. And if we're trying to mingle in by doing things public, then your child will actually become public. And we know what happens to public things. Any and everybody uses it. That's what it's for. So let's be careful what we do with our youth. We only get one chance to raise them up. And you got to instill with them the best principles and the best foundation you can while they're still young. And the best way to do that is to have the least amount of outside interference while you're doing it. Now, I'm not saying we got to restrict them to the level where they get a certain age, they don't know how to drive, they don't have a bank account, they don't know how to write a check. All those things are the things that we have to teach them while we have the opportunity to teach them. These are the things we have to focus on before they get the desire to get up and go. And another thing you got to remember is arranged marriages is something real, something powerful, and another way, and also another way to fix the problems that we have in our communities. Arranged marriages. Your child shouldn't be looking for their own marriage partner, but rather be male or female. They shouldn't be out look because they don't know what to look for. They still have underdeveloped minds. They don't know what characteristics or they look for somebody that look good, somebody that smell good or got a nice car. You know, that's what they're looking for. Or somebody to make them feel a little mushy inside. That's what they're looking for. But that's not what we as adults will look for our children as a husband or a wife. So we have to begin the process of arranged marriages again. But when you arrange a marriage, let it be for years within that community from their youth. And then what you can do is, I like from my studies and my research, I like it how they do it in other countries, real countries that do arranged marriages. What they would do is at a young age, they would take the young woman and send her to the mother's house of the young man that they want her to marry, and allow that mother to teach her how to be prepared for her young son. You understand? Her own mother can teach her about so much, but what are the likes and desire of her son? Only that child's mother or sister can properly prepare that woman for that young son. Now, if we did something like that in today's world, we will be looked at as abusers. We're too strong too hard on our children. We don't give them freedom of choice. But no, that's not what it's about. It's about building a nation. It's about developing the minds of our future generations to come. It's about putting principles and practices in place early in the beginning stages, so when we're long gone, 100 years from now, our foundation that we laid will have created and formulated that positive future that they are now living. Sometimes you got to make a sacrifice. When you start a business, you can't expect to make money right off the bat. You start a business, there's a lot of suffering, a lot of poor times, a lot of hard times in the beginning. But you stick with it, you maintain it, and you got a good item to supply, which is our children. You got a good item to supply, then what you're going to do is prosper tremendously. And those few years that you were suffering, after a while, those few years will be like a dream. That was nothing. It's so long ago. Now look at the benefits of what we suffered. So we gotta look at it in many different ways. May the Creator be praised with all that we do. Total.
Kane, I think everything you said was so important. And I think that's why also it was some things that Princess Naseekh Amuna brought out, you know, with the desire to want to do. And I grew up, obviously, I didn't go to independent schools all my life. I started when I was very young in an independent school. And then when my mother, something that Naseekh Amuna's aim told her, children can be very mean. And so when I entered into a public school system, it was a shock to my whole system, because those children were very mean. They talked about my hair because it was natural. They talked about my name because it was African. They talked about my skin because it was shiny and I didn't have blemishes, and they didn't know how to compliment me because I was strange to them. And in so many ways, they were strange to me. And what it led to was me being very defending. And I used to fight in school and, beat people up and get suspended. And it was me and my siblings, though. We stuck together. But it was kind of like a battle at times going into these public school systems. It's something that I even reflect now with my youngest sister, with her daughter going into the school system. It's a battle because these people don't understand us. And so I'm not here to push anybody to say go to public school. But what I do want us to do is, even when we're speaking of these communities, we do have to vet Israelites, regardless of them calling themselves Yisrael, because we all have experienced some sort of, I won't say we all, some of us have experienced some sort of betrayal or something that has brought us to a place where we've separated ourselves from one another. And in doing that, now we have to be even more diligent in saying, okay, let me vet who we are forming these relationships with, whatever school we formulate a relationship, we got to vet that school, vet the people who are doing it, just as well as I invite people to vet us, because it's not a one-sided thing. We all have to be able to mesh and to be able to say, okay, yes, I did my research, I asked the right questions. It's an interview process. Even like going into a marriage is an interview process. Going into these relationships, whether it be school to school relationships, arranged marriage relationships, whatever it is, when we're building these, we have to vet one another. We have to vet each other's communities. We have to make sure our principles align, because the other part is being, even if we want to say, oh yeah, I want to arrange a marriage with that child and my child, if we don't do these processes, then it's almost like we're arranging marriages with our children with people in Babylon, because a lot of times there's a lot of Israelites who are worse than those that we say are our enemies. So it's so deep, like everything we're talking about. And I think even Gabriel Aisha brought up, like, I'm glad we have this space, because one thing for me is, when I came into this way of life, it was not a welcomed conversation for a woman to say, hey, can we have a conversation deeper than you just saying this is it and we just have to accept it? And because of who I am naturally, I just listened and accepted it. But in my spirit wasn't comfortable with that, because when I looked at what was being taught or preached about, it was not being lived. So, I'm a person of, I do believe if we're going to preach about it, then we have to live it. And when I'm hearing Princess Amuna, even her sister, commenting in the comments, I applaud their parents for doing what they did, because that is a hard thing to do, especially when homeschool, it wasn't popular 20 years ago. And even though it's becoming a popular thing here now, it's still done in a very because now they have all these different formats of homeschool. Like you can homeschool your children, but through an American system still. It's all these different ways you can do it. So and just hearing everybody's experience of it is very great, and it's giving energies for us to be able to push forward, and I appreciate it, because that's what we need. And being able to have formats and spaces for us as mothers, as women, to be able to express what is on our heart, and not in a weak space, because I'm very adamant, and my daughter is very aware, she's staying in homeschool. It's still a space of, okay, we need to talk about this, because this is something that your child is experiencing. How do we make it better for their experience and ours at the same time? Because as much as it's hard on a child, it can be hard on a parent. So I think, my biggest point is vetting one another, because we can talk to each other all day long on social media, on these sites and things like that. But until we have these personal conversations and see where each other aligns themselves with the Creator, then that determines how we align them within our communities, and becoming closer to us and welcoming people into our homes, into our hearts, into our schools. Because even when we do interviews, take applications for our school, which we do, I look at all that. Each looks at it, the other principals, we look at all of who they are, we look at their association, because that also is important. We can't just allow everybody to come into the school, because even their influence can influence our children in the separation that we're trying to do. So, so many things were brought out today. I'm full, because I feel like things that I prayed about, things that I asked about, and discussions I had with my child and my Ish pertaining to this, and even and talking with Naseekh Amuna, have been answered in quite a great way. And I think that we just have to be patient. I understand, like you said, Abba, we are in the beginning stages. Our community is a baby. We're still crawling. We're still trying to formulate our words correctly, everything. We're in that stage. And so, of course, our eyes are big and we see the future, but we may not even make it to the future. But one thing you said, key, that, you said today, and you've said many times, is the foundation is so important. So, we have these laws that we're setting in place. We have these understandings that we want to come to fruition. And it's our job to make sure that we speak on it and we act on it as much as possible with our children that are present here and those to come while we're living, so that in the absence of us, the physical absence of us, our children are able to continue on with that and writing these foundations down and instilling them. But, my biggest thing is the instillment in righteousness and the instillment of the practice of what we're doing, and not just quote unquote preaching to our children or, spewing rhetoric and it goes in one ear and out the other because they see us doing the opposite. So, I applaud us and all those who are living what they practice, doing it daily, and striving to be despite what the world has told us to be. And it is important that we teach our children, like, that world is not what we think it is or what you think it is. That's how I've raised my children. I raised them through sharing my own personal experiences, good and bad, so that they understand I'm not perfect and I've made some terrible decisions in my life, and I don't want them to make those decisions. So I share it with them, because those decisions can annihilate you from this world. They can carry you through your life. So, it's so important that even as parents, because it wasn't done with me, that we share our experiences so our children know they don't have to go out the world and get a taste of that to understand what it can do to them. Sometimes that's what we teach our children. Oh yeah, or we're told, let your child go taste. I tell my children all the time, you don't have to go taste that to understand what it is. I can tell you from living in the world. There's a lot of things I would never want you to experience. So yes, I'm grateful we have this space. I'm grateful for this conversation. It was very well needed today, obviously, from everybody's comments. And prayerfully, we're able to, continue these conversations, whether we do it on this platform or privately. But I think it definitely has helped many of us to be stronger in what we're striving to do for our children, and not feel alone and feel more connected as a family, as a community. So Toda Rabah, Naseekh, and Toda Rabah Ishi for allowing this conversation, and in so many ways even being an open format where us women feel heard, and not just feel it, but actually get a reply of being respected for our words and our wisdom, and not just dismissed because we are, quote unquote, female women. So Toda Rabah.
Okay. Appreciate those words of wisdom. Definitely didn't want to cut your wisdom. Wanted to let it go out, come forth, because there's always jewels in it. And I just want to say this one part, because I don't know if I'm gonna have a part 3 to this. Just had a few more pages to go, but I do want to say this. It was we all remember when Dawood was about to pass, and it's a part up in here, and maybe I will bring it out later, but it's a part up in here to where it speaks on the desire or the focus on your children continuing what you brought, right? And that's what we're trying to do here at Beulah. I pray that we get to witness. I pray that we get to sit down and have some Kool-Aid or some not Kool-Aid, but some what do I call that? Some
Organic
natural Kool-Aid, something like that, right? Sit down, we see all the we grandfathers and stuff up here, and we just see the success, and it speaks on that Sirach. We saw that with Dawood and Shlomo. I want you to continue this. I want you to do this. And then there was a part I was watching the little Bible movies, and Shlomo was about to pass. He was passing, and his son was over him in the Bible movie. He was about to die, and when he died, he said, "No, we don't want that to happen." He said no because it's about to happen with his child. So with his son, grown son. So I think at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that our house is not overthrown, that it's forever, and it continues to build good men and women with great character and integrity accountable men and women to the Most High. With that, I yield for all of you tuning in. Told out to the new people that came and visited. We appreciate you. And this is how we rock. This is how we rock sometimes. We'll be mid-lesson, and that lesson just got to stop. It happened to Prince like 2 weeks ago, I think. He couldn't even, matter of fact, it happened, last week. Couldn't even finish it. So, it happens because we want to make sure we touch any questions, and we want to let everybody have a voice, and then see if we could build from that voice. And with that, I pass it to Prince. Shalom, everyone. Shalom Lecholam.
All right. Wow. So part of the problem that I see in today's culture is that a lot of people are speakers of the word, but not doers of the word. We trapped in these cities, some large, some small, but a lot of us have found comfortability in these cities. But the law, the scriptures, not necessarily the law, but the scriptures teach us that when we go into the land of captivity, we're supposed to build houses, plant vineyards, grow our food. We're supposed to basically build communities. And the Creator says in the 11th chapter of the book of Ezekiel that he will be a small sanctuary to us in these places. And we read in the book of Numbers where the Creator said that we were not like the nations. We could not even be counted among the nations. So even when the Creator put us out of the garden that he had placed us in as a nation, even when he put us out and he put us into the hands of our captors, we as a people were supposed to strive to live together. If you look in your city, wherever you live, you will see like-minded, spiritually minded people all live together, except the black man. And you might have a few stragglers in your community of different nationalities. But on a large majority, their people will have a community that they live in, even within the cities. Where's Chinatown? Where's little Tokyo? Where's little Italy? Where's little India? These people all have their own, except the black man, the Israelites, the true people of the covenant. We have what they call ghettos. And ghettos was an experiment. That's what it was about. It was an experiment to see how they can fashion and work and formulate our minds to cultivate us, to see how we would turn against each other, to destroy each other. Therefore, they knew not what to do with their people. And we're still here living in these ghettos. And we have caused ourselves to be under an illusion that we're happy and at peace, and we're not. Some of us can't feed our families. A lot of us can't provide for our children. A lot of us, our minds are so warped, we sleep with different women every day of the week. And we think that's exciting. We think that's the thing to do. To search out a woman and conquer her by taking whatever jewels she has that's sacred to her and exploiting them. We think that's a wonderful life to be able to do that. And then there's some of us who get a little bit of dollars, and we get a little dollars, and we get a nice house and a nice car, and we think we've better or we've achieved something in this thing called life, but we lie, we steal, we cheat, we have no integrity, we smoke, we do so much drugs. Drugs have become the new diversion today. Drugs, alcohol, they have become the new diversion to take us away from seeing with our own eyes the atrocities that take place right in front of our faces. Because we give ourselves to the things of this world. But if we did what the Torah says, what the Tanakh teaches, and we came together as a people in our own communities, there are laws and regulations that we have to live by. There's certain standards that we have to hold true. And a lot of these houses of worship are not teaching these things today. I would say the majority of them that I know of are not teaching them. You talk to the people that's a part of that community and ask them what's going on in their communities. Leadership, having sex with little boys, little girls. This is leadership. The people you look up to guide you spiritually, they're supposed to be the closest thing between you and the Creator. That leadership. They taking your money. They're buying nice cars and you can't even pay your electric bill, your gas bill, your water bill. You can't even feed your children. And what it really is oppression. So the leaders, a lot of leaders today are really oppressing the people because they're making them sad. The people can't function properly. But in a communal setting is different. Because in a communal setting, we all look out for each other. In our community, we got one electric bill, we got one gas bill, we got one water bill. Well, we ain't got no gas. We got one water bill. We got all these things, and collectively we put together to make sure these things get done. Do you see how much pressure it takes off of an individual? You see how much it takes off of an individual to have to do these things? Oh yeah, we got 2 electric bills, the temple and then the community. We got 2 electric bills. My apologies. We got 2 cable bills, the temple and the community. But we all put together as a community, we all put together to make sure that these needs are met. So family, if you're thinking about joining the community, we have applications. Contact somebody you know. You may be interested, but I'm going to tell you, we're not looking for anybody. We don't want nobody to come in and disrupt this peace we got, because we got something great going. And we're looking toward the future. You know? So if you think you are of that caliber of an individual, then put your application in. Call somebody up on the phone. Call my wife. Call me. Call Naseekh. Call Naseekh. Call somebody. And if you know Maisha Autumn, call her. Call somebody if you're interested. It just may be that you're the missing link that the Creator wants us to have to become a part of our community and help it grow. We have our own school, Goshen Hebrew Academy at Temple Kifarim. We have our own school because we take the education of our children seriously. We have a lot of things that we're doing. We have a couple of businesses on the land. We're trying to cause those things to prosper and grow. We still have a lot of red tape that we have to cross to cause those things to be fully functionable. But we're doing what the Torah, the Tanakh says for us to do. We actually live it. And a lot of people will see you living it and try to do what they can do to badmouth you, to talk bad about you, to tear you down, to prevent you from rising and doing the works of the Creator, because they themselves are not doing it. We don't pay those people no mind. And we can't be tricked into paying those people any mind. We have to stay focused on what we're doing and continue to build this nation for the Most High. So with that, we like to say thank you all for coming out. And if any of you all have any questions, please type your questions in the room. We'll give it a few minutes. If there are any questions, ask your questions. If there are any comments, write your comments, and we'll display it in the room. We come back today at 3 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, if you go to our YouTube channel or our Facebook channel, it will give you the live alert or the link that you can tap into so you can come back in. And if you're here with us today, please like and subscribe to our page and share. Like, subscribe, and share, because all of these things are extremely important when it comes to being a successful community, a successful organization, a successful movement in the earth. We don't seek to be like everybody else. We don't care about being like everybody else. We might study everybody else and see what everybody else is doing, but we only do that to make our movement, our program better than everybody else. We don't want to be like everybody else. We don't want to be equal to anybody. We want to be better. We want to be greater. We want to show that the Most High is with us. So a lot of times in doing so, you have to be patient. You have to walk quietly, but you also have to execute discipline, righteousness, loyalty, truth, love, and commitment. And that's what we do to each other. And anyone else who wants to be a part of that, you can do that, because it's real in this day and time. It's real. The Most High has his people here in the earth that's doing their very best to serve him. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. So we see you all back here at 3 o'clock today, Creator willing. We'd like to see you all back. We had a great half, great first half. Now at 3 o'clock, we begin our second half. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. Creator willing, we see you all soon. Shalom, shalom.